Ready? We'll call this meeting to order. And we would like to recognize that this meeting is being held on the traditional territory of the Lillooet Nation. I get approval of the agenda, please. Moved and seconded. Call question on favor. Opposed, motion carried. Regional moment, we're gonna do that after the, okay, possibly. Okay, we now, there's no opposed. So we've got a delegation, Mr. Jim Phillips, Chair, and Mike Ertz, Board Member of Marine Parks Forever Society, and Geraldine Guilfoyle, Squamish Yacht Club member. Welcome to you all. See two people there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I called.
Don't be sorry. I'm just going to give this to you. Okay, Jim, are you the spokesperson then for this, or Geraldine, or who?
Jim Phillips, I can sub in. Actually, our Michael, who should be somewhere in the picture, is actually been organizing this, but I can jump in if Mike didn't make it.
Here's this one who's trying to join, but it's lagging, so.
Okay.
Would you like me to carry on?
Yes, please.
Okay. I represent the Marine Parks Forever Society, part of the Council of BC Yacht Clubs. It's an organization that represents 50 clubs and about 15,000 boaters. There's more boaters than that in BC, but those are the ones that belong to the boating organization. We're set up to contribute to the acquisition and improvement of marine parks, facilities for boaters, but we have both a conservation and a recreational view of things. To date, we've made $2.5 million worth of acquisitions and improvements. And I should make clear, we're an organization that's not approaching you looking for funding. We're looking for opportunities where we could partner with you and try to make something work. If, for instance, if there's a piece of property or if there's an improvement that needs to be made in the parks, which would be a tie-in with recreational boaters, such as moorings, then that's the type of thing that we'd be interested in talking to you further about. Well, I'll just explain our organization a little further. In 2025, we started meeting with more regional districts. We primarily set up for BC Parks and working with BC Parks and the federal parks organizations. And they're somewhat preoccupied with a number of issues that I'm sure you're aware on the coast. And so we branched out a little bit and we're talking to other organizations, the BC Parks Foundations. We work closely with private trusts and organizations and of course the regional districts. The aim is to keep a little bit of momentum and the number of boaters, the access requested in the parks, as you're probably aware, has increased hugely in recent years. And of course, we haven't really expanded the parks in our part of the world to keep up with that. So that's a challenge. So we are acquiring marine areas for conservation as a priority. We have a project what we call Stern Ties, which basically is putting rings and chains along the shoreline of popular areas for boaters. And this allows boaters to secure without tying to trees, trampling on the beaches. It's a safe way to go. It's a convenient way to go. And of course, it protects the shoreline in busy areas. We could also put down moorings such as mooring buoys, which works better in some locations. Sometimes we've put in dinghy docks where popular areas where we can support the installation of a dock, fund the installation of a dock, and that allows dinghies to tie up alongside once again without trampling on the shoreline. So that's about what I had in mind. So as not to run over time, are there any questions that the committee would put forward?
Has anybody got any questions for?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you would, what your relationship or opportunity, if you've looked at Sea to Sky Marine Trail, it seems like this is a bit of a different thing, but I'm just wondering if that's sort of looked at that context or how this might relate to that.
Well, no, I'm not familiar with the Sea to Sky Marine Trail specifically, but BC Marine Trails is an organization of paddlers primarily. And is that similar to what you're discussing?
I think sounds like it is campsites, more self-powered access to campsites, and then campsite access by paddling and so on. Yes.
Yes, that is. We work closely with that organization, and they are more interested, as you say, in the shoreline access, whereas we're more focused on anchoring safely somewhere, having a spot where we can rent a dinghy ashore or go for a walk would be the activities we'd be most interested in. But yes, we cover much of the same ground as the Marine Trails organizations.
Very good. Anybody else have any questions?
I wonder if we could ask Geraldine if this is something, she's a Squamish supporter and a resident. Maybe she could suggest something.
Uh, yeah, thank you for that, Jim. I see members of our district council at the meeting, and you'll be aware of just how sound is used by the boating community. Anybody who lives in Squamish will. And I mean, there are probably several areas there that could be enhanced by some kind of a relationship where whether Marine Parks Forever Society helped with mooring buoys, stern ties, or the acquisition of land that the regional district had authority or control over. So really, there's quite, I mean, well, Porto Cove is provincial right now, but the areas around Britannia Beach, Zorro Bay, for instance, there is a campsite in Zorro Bay, and the yacht club has put down one or two moorings, and but there are a number of areas where there are sort of picnic sites, but no access for boats that for coming ashore. So I think it would be a question of just having discussions if the regional district had land they thought could benefit from enhancement.
Armin, you had something?
Yeah, I think, thank you for the presentation. I'm curious about, there was a mention of land acquisitions and sort of improvements. Is there another, I'm just curious about maybe an example of either of those categories. There's lots of areas throughout Howe Sound and sort of with work with the biosphere region, I've become aware of many little pieces. So I'm really curious. It does feel like there may be areas to cooperate, but I'm curious what those examples are so we can sort of better understand what the opportunity may be.
Well, if I can speak to that briefly, the Cowichan Valley Regional District purchased an island at the mouth of Ladysmith Harbor called Butte Island, and it was a little less complicated for them, I believe, than than the province having to do the same thing, or the federal government. Anyway, the regional district purchased the land, improved the dock, put in trails, and then invited us in to do something with moorings. And we put in 8 moorings, which has been quite quite an attractive asset for the area, and it's not far from Ladysmith. So of course, it's enhanced the business opportunities and tourism in Ladysmith with people visiting in their boats.
Okay, thank you.
Tommy?
Thank you. Well, good morning. Thank you very much for the presentation. My area is Area D, which includes Britannia Beach, Furry Creek, and the shoreline on the west side of Howe Sound. I've previously done some work with the marine. I'm trying to think of the name of the society, but they have some campsites over there. And we put in some toilets and tenting platforms, things like that. But I don't recall any provision for mooring boats there. I think I think they were more interested in kayaks where you could just sort of haul them up onto the beach. So, I'd be interested in talking to you about those kinds of locations and possibility of putting some moorish facilities in there. I'd also be interested in talking to you about the area between along the shoreline from Britannia Beach, Furry Creek, that area. So I was looking. I didn't see a contact, any contact information. So I'd appreciate that.
Okay, well, I think we have it at the end of the presentation that we've sent, but there is, I can
Oh.
give you my email, and we have a website, which is not bad, and ecmpfs.ca.
It's in our package, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Thank you.
And just to elaborate briefly, the BC Marine Trail is probably the organization you're dealt with, and they are for sure oriented towards kayaking and platform tent sites on the shoreline, that type of thing.
Yes.
Whereas we would come into play more, in a general conservation role possibly, but also places where it's sensible to moor and anchor a boat. And hopefully there would be a little bit of shelter such that it's sensible to anchor a boat, and then we could put in moorings.
Okay. I think there are those kinds of places sort of available, if you like, if you want to put it that way.
Well, I'd certainly look forward to following up with you and staff if, when that makes sense for you.
Okay, thank you. I will contact you and then we can talk about it offline.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for your presentation today, and we look forward to seeing what you come up with.
We'll look forward to the follow-up. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Leave them closed. Okay. Move on. Did we do the regional moment? Okay.
No.
Tony, are you ready with your regional moment?
I wasn't able to submit my pictures to the CAO in time for them to be approved, so I have nothing because it's a visual presentation.
Okay. We will put you on a future scheduled opportunity then. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to 6.1 CAO verbal update.
Hi, everyone. Heather Paul, CAO SLRD. Nothing to report today.
Okay. And we'll move on to funding model options for electoral area director support. We have Allison Twist here. We've been working on this for an amazing amount of work. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Allison Twist, Senior Policy Analyst at the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District. I'll provide a brief summary of the report prepared in response to the board's June 25th, 2025 resolution directing staff to explore options for an electoral area director support position. The purpose of the report is to give the board key information needed to consider whether a new electoral area director support role should be created and to outline potential models and costs should the board wish to proceed. To prepare this work, staff interviewed all electoral area directors analyzed themes from those discussions, compared the feedback to the 2025 board strategic plan and to what is currently in practice by the organization. I reviewed the UBCM BC Government Regional District Toolkit, scanned peer regional districts for their practices, and developed preliminary financial estimates. To provide context, the report also revisits the history of electoral area specific planning and reporting, including the shift in 2022 from 5 separate strategic plans, 4 electoral area plans, and 1 board plan, to only 1 SLRD board strategic plan, and outlines what the organizational practices currently are now and how they might have to change to accommodate the AAD requested support. What was clear from the electoral area directors, what was heard is clear. While directors value the expertise of current staff, they are looking for more day-to-day access to staff and additional dedicated support to help advance electoral area priorities. Through the interviews, several common themes emerged for potential support to focus on. These include priority and project coordination, intergovernmental liaison and advocacy, economic development and rural advocacy, infrastructure project support, planning and emergency communications support, and administrative consistency. Directors also expressed interest in a role that could potentially liaise between electoral area directors, staff, external groups, and constituents, coordinate grants and funding, enhance communications, and potentially support satellite office presence. Staff analysis shows that a significant amount of departmental time is dedicated to advancing electoral area priorities through the board strategic plan currently. This report details what staff support is provided and what would need to change to accommodate the additional functional support areas that electoral area directors identified. It also notes that increased daytime access to staff would require additional staff capacity in some departments and changes to the one employee governance model and board code of conduct policy on staff interactions. Externally, other regional districts use a mix of approaches. One currently has a dedicated electoral area support role, only one, I should clarify. Most others have distributed models where electoral area director priorities are distributed amongst and across the organization to be advanced. Staff summarized insights from other senior administrators of other regional districts on the potential for an electoral area director dedicated support position into advantages and disadvantages for the board's consideration. Finally, the report presents 5 options for board direction. First option is status quo, no change. The second option is an electoral area project coordinator. The third option is a project and grant coordinator. Fourth option is a distributed support model, enhanced departmental capacity. Fifth option is any other direction the board wishes to pursue. Each option includes high-level costing and organizational implications, and at this stage, staff are here and seeking board direction on next steps.
There are a lot of options. Thank you very much. Who would like to start with questions? Okay.
So my thought, like the staff that work for the regional district really work for the electoral area directors, because all the municipal people on this board, they all have their own staffs, and they look after their concerns within their boundaries, I guess. So the majority of the time that is spent by our staff is time spent on issues that are happening in the elected area. Because we don't have any, as far as I know, we don't have any say or what goes on within the municipal boundary.
That's a good, I think this is a really interesting discussion starter, because you don't
No.
Like if, pardon me? Yeah, there is, yeah, the regional district does get referred on OCPs of the municipality. We partner and really work together on regional growth strategy, which are sort of our highest level planning documents. But carry on with your point, because I think this is a very good discussion to have.
Yeah, it's just, I'm wondering, if staff, spends as much time like dealing with everything in the elected areas, how do we need more? Like, are we not getting enough service from our staff now? I believe we are.
I think we are.
Yeah, so, I don't know, I guess that needs to be explained to me. Where we need to go with this.
I think the question is, and not getting into persons, but roles. Are the roles sufficiently available, or, and it's also, this is a really good, I hope that this becomes sort of an informative report for people considering running for election is, are we a policy board? We have a fiduciary responsibility to the budget. Everyone around this table has that responsibility. The staff that do the work for the regional district are very similar to the staffs of each of our municipalities insofar as we've got a planning department, we've got, we try and share services, and wherever we can share services is a benefit. But regional district electoral area directors, at least in this region, have different budgets. And those budgets are managed, within the capacity of the staff here. But doing the work, they're doing the work as directed by the board. We're given, policy decisions to make, and then the staff do that work. There isn't really, it sometimes feels like there's more work for the electoral areas on a one-on-one basis. But there would be a lot of benefit to sort of raising that up to, getting it off.
But having said all that, the EAD committee
Mhm.
has a lot of delegated authority. So stuff coming out of that committee is directed to staff to bring back results, questions, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So there's a bit of time there
Mhm.
that is specifically dedicated to the elected areas.
And in some regional districts, they don't have that EAD committee,
Mhm.
and all decisions come to the full board.
Yeah.
And so there's that.
Well, personally, I like it the way it is,
Yeah.
because I think it's far more practical and far more, it just works much better. Because each elected area director should have a good feel for what's going on in their area,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Heather?
I'm realizing hearing Director Mack's comments that maybe something wasn't clear in the report, and that's my miss, is that we didn't put recommended or not recommended, but I will say, to be really clear, staff don't recommend having a dedicated EAD coordinator. If anything, it sounds like wanting more things to be done and faster would be adding capacity throughout, or else a reworking of priorities by the board at a strategic level.
Right.
And I think through the chair to further support that, in looking at administrative functions internally, and the report describes the number of dedicated cost centers and service areas, and also strategic projects of this board. And by and large, the majority of staff time, departmental time is working towards advancing electoral area specific cost centers, services, and priorities. And there are several that are regional wide in scope, and the electoral areas, of course, are a part of that. So already by and large, the significant amount of staff time is for advancing that and there are dedicated roles and functions across all of the departments that do work very well to advance specific electoral area director authorities, including of the committee, select funds, and there's other teams that work across. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say that, you know, been on this board now for 8 years. We've added a lot of capacity. Like, I think and I'd be interested to know the numbers, but I feel like we've added a lot of new staff roles, which were directly out of our strategic planning and where we see the tide change. And we've had to add, you know, new capacity in different ways. I see Tony's hand, and then I'll come to you.
Yeah, when I first started in this role, I quickly discovered that there basically little or no staff support, direct staff support for the sort of day-to-day things. I've asked years ago for the possibility of having a staff person spend some time in Area D, where it was a day a month or a day every 2 weeks or something like that. Part of that was to sort of, I would have found that helpful. And secondly, was to raise the awareness of the SLRD amongst people here. But the SLRD for most people in Furry Creek and Britannia Beach and well, all of the areas of Area D is some shadowy organization that exists in Pemberton and makes decisions that affect them. And generally people don't have a very positive feeling about this thing that's called SLRD. Now, when it comes down to individual contact with staff, that's different. We have some really good staff who, and when they're doing something in an electoral area and coming into contact with residents and so on, it's a different picture. They feel very positive. And I've had these kinds of conversations. I say, well, who are you mad at? You know, this person X comes down and is dealing with you on this particular project, and you're very happy with what that person is doing. That person is working for the SLRD. That is a service, but we should spend some time, I think, in raising our profile with, and that is something we're working on, but it needs more work. The other thing that I'm thinking about as we're going through this is, we are often told as electoral area directors that we're doing too much. So we shouldn't be doing this. That's not our job. Our job is to govern, and so on and so forth. So just a little example. Part of what I think is being able to govern is to be able to communicate with various groups in the community. So I wanted to have a meeting. Well, I had a meeting. And typically for years, I've just arranged that. I've arranged the hall, I've arranged refreshments, whatever, but I'm told I'm not supposed to be doing that kind of work. So this time, I asked if staff could phone and book the hall for me, and circulate some notices about the meeting, and basically told no, we don't have time to do that. But then we're also told that staff are here to support us. So I think we need some kind of review, if you like, or some kind of look at how our staff organized. How could they be organized that would allow electoral area directors to make a phone call to Pemberton and ask for some support, whether it's secretarial support or and I'm not talking about a week's worth of work. I'm talking about jobs that might take 15 to 20 minutes, that sort of thing. So I would like access to some kind of direct support like that, which don't have at the moment, and which leads to me doing things which other directors look at and say, you shouldn't be doing that. So I'll just leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on my list is Lori.
Thank you. I don't want to, it's hard to follow Director Rainbow with that because, you know, I feel like he's not asking for a position, but asking for, you know, some clarification. My clarification question comes under 10.1 under member shall. And I just want to know if it says member shall direct questions and inquiry, sorry, it's on page 19.
Thank you.
Members shall direct questions and inquiries regarding departmental issues to the CAO or senior level director of the appropriate department with the CAO copied. B says refrain from contacting staff directly. So I just wanted some clarification. Are EADs allowed to directly contact the department and copy, or how does that work?
Thank you. Yes, B is just clarifying, not contacting them directly without copying the CAO.
I see, okay.
And then also clarifying that any staff. So the conversation is between senior level staff and not generally any staff. And when
Okay.
senior level staff, it's copied.
So
And that's more of a
EAD
modernized single staff approach that we're taking.
So
The
EADs.
GMs. It
And-
says
and not just
director,
EADs.
it should be GM.
Oh yeah,
The
direct.
senior level GM.
Yeah, you're right.
Their title.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably after the report was started.
I see.
Um, but yeah,
Excellent.
we have amazing
Absolutely.
people.
But EADs are allowed to contact them, CCing.
Any director.
Any director. Yes.
And yeah,
Yes, of course.
municipal,
Okay.
we just don't have the same level of
Okay.
incoming messaging.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Can I clarify? One of the things about that contact, though, it's not about directing work, operational work.
Correct.
And that's just where the guardrails are.
Right.
And so the through line, if you want operational work done, is the board directing it, not individual members.
Right. Okay, so if I took the landfill and I was talking about the road, I'm not telling them to or asking them to do it. But if I was to ask, is that on the list, and was hydro was that part of their agreement with the right of way to talk about doing that road? That is something that I could ask directly, CCing you.
Yeah,
But not directly.
we have these approaches where if it's clarifying questions, sometimes we clarify directly and sometimes we go, you know what, that's a really good information report because I think District of Squamish, like lots of people are gonna wanna understand this, so we've created an information report. I just want everyone to know 15 minutes times 11 adds up. And if it's the desire of the board, more capacity would be required. And then I think honestly, just for some compassion with staff, what I think everyone thinks is, can you just, is not always.
What we think is gonna take 15 minutes
This report.
doesn't take 15 minutes.
And we have-
Should I have you on my list? Okay, my next is Director Demerit.
Yeah, thank you for the report. Very well done. And I can see it definitely took some time to create it. I've got a couple of few comments. Yesterday I mentioned that the communication department has come a long ways from when I first started back in 2020 or 2021. But the one piece that's missing on the communication piece is town hall meetings and having staff come to the communities for particular projects that are happening. We had, back when everything was virtual, we had a couple of them for the Braylord Sewer project, and but very little. And going back to the Dalton Lake wildfire, a lot of the staff that were working on it had never even been up there into the valley. Very similar with a lot of the directors had never been up there. So we did those tours so that people could actually see what took place and what everything that happened. So that piece that Tony was talking about, who is the SLRD, that's how you get there. And without those town hall meetings for specific topics, that's the last piece of the communication piece, because the rest of it is really good. And I know it's going to get better, but we need to do those town hall meetings so that staff actually come up and they get to talk to the public, and the public can ask questions on whatever the topic of that town hall meeting is. And we were doing it for emergencies, but we're not doing it for projects. I take a look at the Braylorn Sewer project. Now we're into many years and it's still not complete. So we're getting questions now about the road, the paving of the road. We're getting questions about this, that, and the other thing just on that one project. We've got the Goldbridge water. We've got all these fire services now. Having a town hall meeting once we get through everything, and then to explain it to the public, whether and of course, as you've seen in one of my reports for the Hurley, the majority of the people that own property in our area are non-resident property owners. So the meetings have to be hybrid if we're going to have them. I think that would take a lot of pressure off the electoral area directors. When it comes to the priority list, I have kept up my priority list. And what was in that report was from 2022, was the last time that it was presented to the board or to the EAD. I can't remember where it went, but that was the last time. There's lots of various projects, community projects, such as the SLRD that owns the old museum site. People are asking, can we put a washroom in there? Can we put a gazebo? What could we do with that? Well, that's a town hall meeting to get input, and that staff should be doing that. I could do it. I could do it quite easily.
Director Demare, I appreciate this, but I feel like we need to kind of focus on the issue.
Well, I am talking about the issue.
Yeah,
okay.
But you're bringing in other.
How many more minutes have I got? Or if I over the 5 minutes?
If we're gonna go by minutes, but
well, okay. I've given you some examples of town hall, the importance of them, and for me, option 4 is the correct option. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, you're next.
Yeah, I want to reflect the observation I have of directors here, and I would say area directors in particular, of really feeling so passionate about their community and wanting to do everything they possibly can, and sort of trying to go beyond, I think, the sort of what I would consider the elected role, and then looking for that support to kind of go above and beyond. And for me, that raises the question of, do we, and in my mind, it's during strategic planning, talk about more staff time in areas. So whether it's someone in a director role or a person in the community that really wants to do something, is there that capacity in their organization to enable some of those things? And the discussion about community meetings and so on, for me, if the organization wants to have engagement with our community in an area or whatever, then it's board direction to have a town hall meeting. If as an individual director, I want to have a conversation with constituents or something, I think that's on me, and as a board, do we want to give each of us a budget or some of us a certain budget to have those sort of individual meetings, understanding they're not meetings on behalf of the organization for us to organize. If it's on behalf of the organization, I think it is the board that decides this is the approach we want to take. There's a lot of debate about community hall as an approach, and I think that maybe sometimes it's appropriate, not. I think that's again for me a bit of a communications planning or strategic planning, but how do we want to approach these things? How do we want to fund these things? So I think I was more like the idea of a support person when I heard about it a year or so ago, more than I do now. Now I'm sort of wondering, again, do we need to beef up just general staff support, maybe direct as part of strategic planning, more on the ground presence of staff in some of the electoral areas? And that's sort of, I guess, where my head is at.
What I'm hearing from a lot of this and from the report was the desire for someone who's a jack of all trades, who can understand every department, and that is a big ask. To find someone that can go into community and be ready to represent any department, like that's just not doable. Sending, communications staff to do a town hall, to be prepared to talk on fire smart or emergency planning or pipes in the ground or taxes, like it's just, anyways. I appreciate your comments, and I will go next to, I have Jessie, then Jackie, then Jenna, all the J's, and whoever else, then I'll put Robin on there. And then this is a great discussion, so carry on, go ahead.
I think I'm just kind of repeating what you guys just said. I understand the frustration with not having someone you can just contact directly. But it sounds like the directors have access to staff already, can email them and ask them questions. But this just all sounds like public engagement to me and communications, like you said. So are we looking at updating our public engagement policy soon, or like is there more support needed in that? Because
didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, so do we have enough support in that department? Because this all really just sounds like public engagement to me.
Thank you. For my understanding, public engagement was discussed, and I know the policy was the communications policy, and then there's a more the communication strategy went in front of this board. As I understand, town halls were discussed, but the capacity required for town halls, which would impact taxation, wasn't the collaborative desire by the board, and it wasn't added to the communication strategy. If it's a revisit, then
But that outward communication on the budget from both finance and from communications really leapt forward.
we are doing everything we can to improve comms within the capacity we have. We're taking, I believe it says in this report, an approach that is, let's look at our efficiencies before we add more capacity to redundant work.
Yeah, I'd be more in support with that than having a specific role, a personal assistant to the EADs, just because as someone said, it creates more work for staff. So I'd be more in support of that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good discussion. It's a lot of work. I appreciate what staff has put together. From what I'm hearing from other EADs, I support the more staff visits to see projects and areas on the ground and to build those local relationships, so that I see what happens in the rural communities is that we see a lot more directly our constituents everywhere. We see them in the grocery store. I mean, I know that you probably do in Squamish and other areas too, but there's a real it feels different a little bit in our areas, and I have seen staff. So I want to say that staff has come, especially for emergencies. We've had Mike Fushka there in a collaborative way. We've had Mary Lou and that department at the landfill. So there are examples of departments that have specific things and have come there. So that I really commend that, and I would just support that more, to be able to go and really understand when we say whatever, Kelly Lake Clinton, or we say the dump road, then, you know, people are like, oh yeah, I know where that is. I've been on that. And so I don't necessarily support more staff, but I'm interested in the current model, and taking a look at what the real issues are, because there's a lot of information there that says what staff do. But I think, and we just looked at communications yesterday, but I have two things. I have, what does this, because I've heard that from CAO like a couple of times, modern communication method. So I just kind of wondered if you could explain that a little bit more to me. But and then another quick question would be, so now that the report's been presented to the CAO, will it go to the EAD for further discussion?
I think go ahead to answer the first question.
Okay, to the first question, the modernized is the modernized single staff model. So in most regional districts, board has no access to any staff other than the CAO. And in recent polls with the CAOs, that's still what's going on in regional districts. We have had a modernized approach to that, which is the senior level staff. So most of the people that you see sitting in this room today, the board does have access to ask questions, copying the CAO. The CAO is copied not for a micromanagement, but for a work management. I might have a lot of workload on someone, and I might be able, and they'll say, well, I've been asked these 10 questions I have to answer. And I can go, hey, I'm here. You don't have to answer that because this is more important, or you have to answer that. So that's why it's like that. It's to be a level of support for staff who might feel overwhelmed by questions coming in, upending their current work plan. So that's a modernized approach. I'm more comfortable with that instead of everything coming through the CAO. I think another approach that I would recommend is an example of, say, a street light isn't working. When someone calls up a director, anybody at this table, to say a street light isn't working, I do agree that it's not effective to email me and copy whoever you think is and let them know the street light isn't working, and then they go to their staff and the staff go. The easier way for what I would recommend, and this is absolutely the choice of each elected official, is if someone says my street light isn't working, hey, utilities at slrd.bc.ca, they will answer, because we have a dedication to service excellence and we need a chance to practice that service excellence from the core team. So, and then say, if you don't hear back, like if you're not getting what you need, let me know. So you're there on a governance, like an overall level, a 40,000 foot level, but you're empowering the constituent to have those positive experiences with the dark, I forget what it was called, the darkness of the SLRD, the shadow. We're there, and I think that the service excellence targets that we're trying to hit are being met. Please flood us with more questions from the constituents so we can exercise those tools.
I got a call the other day, or a text message with a photo of something like a pothole or something. And the question was, can you find out who can fix this? And it was really simple. My out of office is, if you have a question about utilities, water, etc., utilities at slrd.bc. And I have the same thing at Whistler. Because I can miss the email, and then it could be days until that person gets an answer from me. Because not that I'm not checking my emails all the time, but it can be a lot. Like, I have hundreds of emails in my inbox. But if they get that out of office, and if every one of us put the same out of office with the list of bylaw at, planning at, you know, not that we're not interested in engaging with that constituent, but that constituent's gonna get faster service if they go straight to the source without it coming through the board, because it's really a guessing game. You know, we're allowed to not be full-time on our emails, because we're not full-time.
Okay, that's fair. I just have a couple of follow-up comments on that. One is that I understand, you know, the support that you want to give your staff with directing, and you say not micromanaging, but it's interesting to me that directors wouldn't be able to understand themselves when they need support and come to you. And that, anyway, so just, I might be getting too operational in whether you need or not need to have those emails, but it seems that even just being able to contact the director should know when to reach out if they have and obviously you're in so much communication with them, so that's just one thing. But also too, that when people get emails, I know when I get those emails, I get frustrated. If I've talked personally to somebody that I know and I have a relationship with, I want them to say, I know who that is, and it could be Sally Smith, and they're in bylaw, and this is who you need to talk to, and I'll make that connection for you. So again, it comes back to what I was saying about relationship building and visiting and being able to go to a project and say, oh yeah, I met with the person who is on the ground, and I understand the geographics, but I also understand the relationship and and that really does hand off, rather than the EAD being able to, I have to like get a hold of all these people, and I know how to get a hold of them. So I really feel like it sounds like more that just that personal touch of being able, and that's what I think we take pride in our regions, is having that personal touch to be able to say, we care about this issue, and it's not just gonna go to a general email, but I like the option and I like the culture in the workplace that says you're not gonna be on 24/7. So I think it needs to be a balance, and I think that discussion needs to go further about how to sort of create the balance in the workplace, but also, and training the constituents that we're not gonna be there all the time, while fostering and maintaining relationships. Yeah.
Really, really well articulated. Thank you. I just, to go back to my list, I've got Jenna, then Armin, then Tony. And so you're next. Go ahead.
Thank you to the chair, to staff and the committee. I think this is a really interesting discussion, and I think it's really helping provide some clarity on where we were a year ago and what we thought we needed. And some of the potential implications of creating an EAD specific role has flagged for me that I really don't think that's the way forward here. I think my first question goes back to kind of this capacity issue. There's a line in the report that it documents for 3 months, May to July, that there were 410 emails that were received from staff, from EAD directors. And just like from a capacity perspective, like even if we add, I mean, this is more a question to my colleagues around the table, like even if we add capacity at the staff level, like answering every single one of those emails takes a minimum of 10 minutes, likely longer. And so this is where I guess I question whether adding more staff capacity without addressing the way that we operate as a board isn't going to get us there. And so I guess the question is, one, how does are all of those 410 emails responded to by staff would be one question. Or does staff feel like they have the ability to be like, okay, that's an information email, I'm like gonna respond with an okay and then off I go? Or like, are each of those generating work?
Thank you. I would say the majority of them generate work, because with the passionate connection with community, there's also a balance of when a leader at this board is approaching staff, you have to respect the power that you're holding when you talk to staff members. They do feel, even if you say, tell me if I'm interrupting, they likely, and I'm not saying this team here, almost every team member will not tell you if you're interrupting, if you're holding a position of power. And I think the good part of this is you don't realize you have a position of power, which is a really wonderful character of this board. But it does. So staff do respond to emails. They try to as best as they can. I try to have, we try to not drop everything, because we have an overall large priority list, while at the same time, we know that the directors want an answer and that they have constituents who want an answer. Yeah. I feel maybe 80% could be maybe 60 to 70%. We didn't audit we didn't go through it. I don't remember.
Already touched on one.
Yeah, that if you actually went direct to the front desk lines and the many trees of answering that we've set up for our hopes for service excellence, we think a lot of that, the constituents could have it addressed directly, and the board could do let me know if you're not getting what you need.
That's really helpful. Thank you. And then I think the only question that I have right now is in the staff report, it speaks to increased capacity for infrastructure project support, but that doesn't feel like it was carried over to the recommendations. I'm just wondering if I'm just reading that wrong. Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah, the option 4 is the distributed model with enhancement of existing staff capacity. So it's not just the Department of Infrastructure that has internally been asking for more capacity. There are other teams as well that continue to, so that, again, the teams are also passionate and want to meet the needs, but trying to be conscious of budgets and honoring the regional board priorities and the departmental work plans at the same time. So option 4 is really that option, and that's why staff would need time to take it away if the board selected that option to really understand those requirements and what the board would be requesting, and then to resource it accordingly.
Thank you for that clarity. Yeah, I think just as a comment to that, this feels like a budget discussion to me and a service level discussion. I think everything from communications to how quickly we're moving infrastructure projects, and the approach that we want to take to relationship building across our communities. I will say, like, we have a regional geographic challenge at the SLRD. If I put on my Squamish hat for a second, like, we have a population challenge. Like, we have 30,000 people who are calling us every day, who have noticed something, who want something solved in their community. And it's still a small town feel with many, many people. And so that constraint never goes away. It just varies. The decision, I think, at the board level is like, how much do we want to invest in our team's abilities, whether it's on a project by project basis? So how do we approach engagement on an individual project versus how do we approach like governance engagement with our communities, and then broad communications more generally, like that. But that's a strategic discussion around how we do our work and how we want to resource it. But I don't think I'm really moving away from the model of moving that specifically to EADs. Like that's a how this board, how this organization does their job. And with greatest sympathy to my colleague, Director Rainbow, like your description of a shadowy organization, I think, is how most people would describe government right now. Unfortunately, it's not just the regional district, it's municipalities, big and small, the provincial government, the federal government. Like, this is a challenge that we are all feeling.
Yeah.
In the, like, it's not the people who are doing the work, it's the institutions.
Yeah.
And there's a real challenge right now. And I want to be very clear, that's not just the regional district of the SLRD, that is how we do government right now.
Yeah. Omar?
More about general manager of infrastructure and environmental services. Just on that, like, I want to note Jackie's comment about personal touch, and Heather's comment about how emails go to the EADs and then come through her and then come to staff. I think that's a big piece where if they tell the constituents to contact us directly, they'll make that personal touch. They'll have someone they can talk to and go to. They'll get a quicker response. Don't waste a bunch of other people's time. I think that's really important, because that happens a lot, where someone might be asking about something really simple with existing services. And we can we have staff that we have a departmental contact list needs to be used. So,
But that one email of utilities@slrd.bc.ca ensures that it's going to get to someone, and eventually, and pretty quickly to the right person, rather than having a list of staff that change because people change jobs, or they change. They retire or whatever. And so having a person on that list might not be the right person, where if it's info@slrd.bc, and that then will get to the right department more quickly than if it comes, as Omar said, through the EAD to Heather to Omar to eventually the right trail person.
And that might have changed, that the 410 emails, that might still be 410 emails, but from constituents and creating that relationship. And I feel like staff also get a much better, like someone says, thank you for doing this. And then we get, there's a relationship piece there that's really important.
Through the chair, sorry, do you have
I think Jenna wanted to respond directly to that, and then I'll come to you, and then, but I'll go back to my speakers list. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that's just like a really important note for those of us on this end of the table. Like, I think it is in our nature often that we want to be the ones to solve the problem. And I think it's actually like pivoting and enabling and holding up staff to be able to do their jobs. And that's just the role we have. Like, we're not the problem solvers. We're the ones that enable the system for folks to be able to get their jobs done.
Totally. Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah, thanks, Jenna, for all of those comments. It felt like it dovetailed well and just pass the torch for you to flesh it out even more. So I appreciate that, especially with the costs and links to staff, like empowering staff. I think that's really great. And I think what Omar was saying, and what you were saying, I think there's just a combination. I like that both can happen with the general list. The tools are there for a reason. So let's use them all.
Yeah, thank you.
And I don't need a gatekeeper from residents, like send them to me. For meetings, like I'm happy to go out as much as I can.
It's like disarming people.
Yes. Yeah.
I just want to say that this report did help us look at a couple of things, and communications, we're talking with communications about potentially like a sticker for your laptop, a magnet for your fridge, a business card in your wallet that has those contact numbers. So when you could be like, oh yeah.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Something that's quick, because I know in the moment because just as passionate you are, probably the person you're talking to is just as passionate. So we're looking at that. I think you'll see that when it comes to expenses, we recognize one of the things that I think thought about a lot was how much time electoral area directors in particular spend doing expenses. And so we've completely changed how that is. And we've moved from, I think, 6 to 8 expenses reports to 2 a month. And imagine that 6 to 8, everyone filled it out, everyone submitted it, it was emailed to me, I had to review it, went to finance had to review it, they had to file it, so that's done. So there's some really good things that came out of this report and conversation, which is from they should be doing it this way to how do we help them do it that way? And so we are thinking about that. When it comes to the town halls, this has been a conversation for the last 2 years since I started. And one of the things we're working on is our biggest capacity issue is within finance and improving the budget process. It is great what happened last year with the budget communications. We need to get the budget process earlier and often and have it in a format that the board would like. So that's what we're looking at for capacity. And one of the questions we ask is, how do we get to a place where we have capacity and time to do a budget town hall? And right now we're far away from that, but that's one of the questions we're asking. And the first thing was looking at efficiency, and then it's looking at capacity.
Armin, then Tony.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the report and the discussion. Like my colleagues, I think this is, I've heard, I think this issue has sort of come up and shown itself in various ways throughout my time at this table. I think I really like sort of this option 4 direction of just increasing capacity, and I think efficiencies is part of that we've heard. And I just in various roles that I've held, including my current roles as a director here, which is I'm a director of the SLRD as much as I'm also the mayor in Squamish. Those are separate things, and all the work, vast majority of the work that we do here is to support. And I want to understand what's happening in the different areas. And I think when at the district, when a counselor has asked a question, oftentimes it actually comes through me to see if I have the answer, so I can support to help insulate the staff capacity, but the answers go back to all of council so that everyone's operating from the same understanding. I'll use your road example. I've heard a little bit about, I would like to know about it, but when you get an answer, you come to this table, any director comes to this table with like, I want to advance this thing that's important. We're starting from a deficit of understanding. If we don't operate in a way where everybody has the same information, and then when something comes that an area director feels is a slam dunk, or whoever it was that was working on that in a silo with trying to get to staff, trying to get to the answers, and it feels like, oh, such a slam dunk comes to council, to the board table, and then all of a sudden there's some friction because this is a new concept, and why is this important? Why are we dealing with this now? So there's this other gap that happens under the current arrangement, and I think creates some friction. I've felt it. I've possibly been the friction in some of those where I didn't quite get what was happening because there's a couple hundred emails and conversation that I'm not aware of as a director. So it would help all of us do our jobs better. I think if we can limit those interactions. Also, in my prior to elected life, I ran a business. I had staff doing certain roles. When certain things got off track, it was usually because I wasn't as good at the job as the person that did it all day, every day. So the best thing I could do to serve my customers in that context was put them in contact with the person that does that work, and they will go through the process to have the issue addressed. And I see in both here and at the municipality, I'm trying to figure out how to put them in. The sooner in the interaction you can put, in my opinion, we can put someone into the process that is established and resourced to have issues like that addressed, the smoother the experience is for the person experiencing that. And that's always how I approach those things. So I think this option 4 piece kind of gets at that, like just broader capacity to do these things, but also it is some discipline at the table. And then there's the matter of if we need to have in different areas take different forms of public engagement on a specific project. I think that those project budgets need to reflect that that's the requirement of or desire of the area director or the needs of that project have a higher level and need to be accounted for in these potentially in the project itself to fund the resources to meet that expectation, which I think kind of covers option 4, but I think it actually goes a little bit deeper with thinking about that when we're looking at project budgets and so on in the various areas. Anyways, I thought there might be a question in there, but I realized that's more of a more signal.
Go to Tony. Tony? You still have your hand up. You were next on my list. Maybe you didn't need it.
Yeah, sorry. I guess this is an open meeting, isn't it?
Mhm.
Oh, good. Okay. I needed to be reminded. A comment about the sort of the shadowiness of the institution and the fact that it's not just the SLRD, it's others as well. I know that. You know, I look back in my past and some of the things I've done. I've lived in rural BC for a long time. I've also spent some time in a large urban community, but spent a lot of time in rural communities. You know, I was principal of a school once that served 6 or 7 small communities, and when I took it over, there was a real disconnect. There was a real lack of understanding about what the school was about, and a lack of understanding in the small communities. Parents didn't know what was going on, and for me, you know, I prioritized my time so that I spent, especially in the first year I was there, a lot of time going out into those communities, into the little elementary schools, talking to the principal, talking to the teachers, talking to the parents, and making sure that that I was the face of the school and I was more visible, and it helped us solve a lot of problems. I had a situation when I was in Surrey, which is a large urban centre, with the food bank, and food banks in the 90s.
What's happening?
He's just frozen.
He's still moving on my screen.
He's still moving, but there's no.
So,
Sorry, Tony, there's no sound right now. Why don't we take a recess and we'll figure this out? Yeah. Or get up and stretch. Sit down. Everyone sit down. I have to be.
You have a gavel if you want to use it.
I never use that.
Maybe you should.
It would have been a good day.
When I do use it someday, you'll all know.
I find it's almost as effective if you just sort of do one of these with it. You don't have to,
Do it your way, I'll do it my way.
just as a,
All right, Tony. You are back, but you are still muted. Can you unmute him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm back now.
Let's,
Let me just summarize really quickly what I was trying to say. I think we should make it a priority to, and I'm picking up on what Sal was saying as well. We need to make it a priority to put staff in front of the people more than we're doing at the moment. And if that means shifting some things around, maybe having staff work in some of the small communities occasionally, renting a space in Britannia and having an office there and having somebody there once a month, those kinds of things, I think it is well worth looking at, and it would be to the benefit of the SLRD as a whole and not just to the electoral and area directors. Thank you.
thank you. We will take that as feedback, but no decision on that will be made today. That is
No.
an operational decision based on how we prioritize the projects in different communities. Okay, so I've heard lots of people say option 4. Do you have any clarity questions or anything that you've heard today?
Option 4 is laid out pretty clearly on what it is. I will say this does put more work. It's an added report and work plan, and we're happy to do it to inform the budget process.
Yeah.
The budget process isn't coming for a bit, so a report back next month wouldn't be expected.
No,
It would be more like.
no.
But just clarify something. So I heard service excellence mentioned. I guess what I've sort of gathered from the conversation is we have a process that we have, and we've sort of I guess understood there's a bottleneck in terms of getting constituents what they would like to have as an end result. And so with these new like infrastructure at SLRD.BC or these emails, that's actually through service excellence a faster path to a direct connection to a human, which is the desire. And then what I understand would more quickly result actually in staff being on the ground responding to things in where it's appropriate. Is there do we have at this point a service level with a response time like within 12 hours or 24 hours, or is that something we're working towards? Like if you email one of these addresses, this is the time to having a human respond?
Good question. We don't have any current metrics like overall. Some departments we have different commitments, and it's based on how we've resourced it. You are correct that it would remove bottlenecks. I'm not resourced to answer an email immediately about, say, a fire we're not working because sometimes my day is just meetings. But the front desk is resourced for that. So you're right, we've had these individual email addresses that people can use that if they really know what it is, it can go straight there. If they go to SLRD info, we have excellent staff managing that who know how to get it to them. But we are continuing to look at service excellence to see how we can improve those metrics. We just don't have them. We do get a lot of thank yous. Very nice corporate constituents out there.
Director Stoner is next.
I was gonna move a motion, so if there's more questions.
So when I think about this, thank you for the reply or that extra bit of context right now. When I think about this option 4, how do we enhance existing staff capacity to address issues in the community? This is gonna be a budget discussion that's gonna be handled by the next board. And I see option 1. So I'm just trying to understand the practical difference between option 1, which would essentially the board sets the strategic direction and says, hey, we want to serve our community better in whatever form that looks like. To me, that triggers an option 4 of how, so I'm just trying to understand if we're providing direction now, it's gonna be for next budget cycle. Are we better to stay, like, what's the difference between staying where we are and letting the next board set those strategic goal priorities, and then the budget flows from that? Is it the year lag between those cycles that's the sort of what we're thinking? Or it's just an interesting time we start going over the horizon of an election.
Yeah, I think I would like to hear the motion that Director Stoner is prepared to move, because that generally brings us to a pretty concise place. Sure.
Just to answer that question to bring clarity, if you went with option 1, some of that work can still be done because we're constantly looking on how we can best create efficiencies and then resource accordingly. So even if we went with option 1, you might see me in September here giving a heads up that there might be capacity requests coming. You saw that yesterday with the fire services comments. So even if we went with option 1, we're still looking at that, and we're still hearing, like I said, how do we get to town halls? What's it gonna take? And what's the tax rate? Like, is there value in that? And how do we complete our budget process? What's it gonna take? We have a grants administrative policy, which is mentioned in here, that's coming towards it. I've said many times, that's what keeps me up at night, is how funding comes in and how it's vetted and if it's vetted. How the accountability is. It's been discussed from a financial perspective. And how do we write that? That might need capacity. So if you went with option 1, we're still going to be doing that work, just from a more operational level and taking on what's been said here today.
Director Stoner.
I was gonna move that that we direct staff to pursue option 4 to inform the 2027 budget process.
Do I have a seconder? Director Hopeful, comments?
Yeah.
Speak to it.
Through the chair, thank you to staff for this excellent work and to the board for the fulsome discussion around it. I think it really brought up a lot of the challenges that we've had over the year and really helped solidify kind of this idea, potentially a EA coordinator support role, and what it is that we're actually trying to achieve through that idea, really being broader and improved service levels, and that be a larger discussion at the strategic planning level and the budget level. Fully appreciate Director Herford's comments that that'll be a different group of folks who are around this table at that time. But I do think that directing this from this report is important, like kind of history and background to how that work gets done. So I hear it would happen operationally anyways. I think that ensuring that this lens is on it around the service level that we're talking about, specifically for things like infrastructure support or delivery of infrastructure projects and communications and those elements, I think this just helps solidify that this conversation in this report gets carried forward. So that's why I put forward option 4. But thank everybody for the discussion and the thoughtful direction provided.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Armand, then Jackie.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be speaking in support of the motion. I think that this is a way to signal that the board is ready to make an investment in the organization to expand our level of service. I will say some of the areas that we heard about efficiencies from our staff. I do want to highlight that that volume of inquiries and emails. This is a free way that we can create more capacity in the organization, is if we can work over time to have those issues that are addressed that way now addressed in a more efficient way. And so there's a responsibility at this table as well for the capacity of the organization. And but I'm happy to support this and at this point and see what comes of it when it goes back.
Yeah, I'm also happy to support this motion. And it sounds like just from CAO's Paul's description that this is already happening, but I feel that by creating option 4, we're acknowledging that that's going to happen, and we're acknowledging that requests will come in for capacity rather than just it. And it means that I think then over going into the election, then, that those will also understand that this is coming forward, that this has been recognized, that this is what staff are doing anyways. So we're making acknowledgements and supporting staff to do what they do. In a good way.
Thank you. Anyone else want to make a comment? I would like to say that this is exceptional work. I think it is incumbent on all of us as elected leaders to share what we do, why we do it, and what tools we have as elected officials to do the kinds of community engagement and governance that we have been striving for. We have put a lot of time into policies that govern this organization, and I think we've done really good work as a team here. Some of us won't be here in the fall, and I think that this information needs to be carried over into the onboarding of new directors. I think this needs to be communicated to the community in informing people why they would run. Because I think a lot of people who run, I mean, I've been through many elections now, and there are people who run who think that they're going to fix a pothole and that's their agenda item. And they're going to become experts in X, Y, or Z. Or some people don't run because they don't feel they're experts in running a good municipality or delivering on certain services, and you don't need to be the expert. This building is full of them. And so I think that this is a really important communication to people who are thinking of running. One of the things we're doing in Whistler is we're spending a lot of time on educating our community about the election and who should, who can step up and who should step up, and what the time it takes to do this, because oftentimes people who work full-time jobs think that they're just gonna, go to 2 meetings a month and that's all they're gonna need to do. And then others are, sort of looking at, and this comes to our remuneration discussion that we've been having, is this doesn't need to be a full-time job, but it sure can become a full-time job. And so I think, to have a diversity of people around the table, we need to have a really clear understanding of the job that we do. And it is different as an electoral area director. It absolutely is different. And so thank you for all of the work from everyone in this room in really clearing this up. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on. Direction request regarding the meetings that we will request from the province for peers or minister meetings or staff meetings during the BCM convention in September. Hello.
Morning. Good morning, Kristen Clark, Director of Strategic Services. Would you like a little presentation or do you want to?
The tops of the waves.
Sure. Thank you. So I am here for direction on specific advocacy topics for which requests can be submitted for meetings with ministers and meetings with provincial public service staff. And if these requests are accepted by the province, in-person meetings with ministers will be scheduled during UBCM, which is April 14th to 18th, and virtual meetings will be scheduled with provincial public service staff the week before UBCM, September 8th to the 11th. So to help the committee of the whole with determining which advocacy topics may be considered for these requests, there's some information that's been pulled together in the report. So attachment A has a list of the advocacy topics in respect of which meeting requests were made in 2024. Attachment B is a list of those topics in respect of meeting requests made in 2025. And then in respect of each of those attachments, in consultation with my colleagues, I've reported the general status of each of these advocacy topics, including which in staff's view could benefit from further support by the board. Next is attachment C, which summarizes all the advocacy letters that the board has sent since August of 2025. And again, staff flagged which of these in staff's view could benefit from further board support. And then lastly, staff assembled a list of potential topics that were not already identified through those other processes, which the committee may wish to consider. So under the options section in the report, I've pulled in those items from all of those attachments, or from all of those lists of what potential advocacy topics are. The committee there may be items that were not pulled into that table that are of interest to the committee. And then lastly, there might be other advocacy topics not identified through any of those means that the committee would like to consider. One last thing, yes, local governments aren't limited in how many meeting requests are submitted, but only one meeting request per minister is allowed. So I did identify generally with those 13 advocacy topics in the table in the report, what minister would be involved in that request.
Okay. Does anyone have any place that they'd like to start? I think we have definitely, I'm sure we won't be alone in asking the minister, I think probably Minister of Finance, for the LGCAP funding to be reinstated. I think every community in this province is going to be asking for that. So we can certainly add that. That's a pretty big deal for us. But
on the LGCAP, we are discussing with other regional districts to have a collaborative meeting request, which might also not saturate.
Yes.
So just let you know, some of those strategies we'll consider.
Yeah, the group of 27 chairs, Chair Force 1 is what we're calling ourselves.
We say Club 27 and
Chair Force 1.
I like that.
We are asking for meetings as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we go through the options table one by one. Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
And
yeah. So do you want to lead us through that?
Thank you. And just to that point, the LGCAP was not pulled into because in staff's view, there's other advocacy process underway, but
okay.
So first item is responsibility for the Back Webster replacement bridge. That would be to Ministry of Forests. There's several items where the Minister of Forests is identified. So that is a factor. And I do note that in 2024, there was a meeting held on this topic. And in 2025, there was a meeting request made and it was declined. with the minister, and then there was a staff request made and it was also declined. And yet it remains, with that context, it also remains an issue that needs some attention.
Okay, so let's ask for the meeting again.
Yep.
Reframe it.
Yeah.
I mean, however we can reframe it so that it sounds like a different ask.
Yeah.
Every minister has switched around since 2024 too, so like we may get in front of a different person. Sorry, Jen.
Sorry, what were the two topics that had declined meetings in the past?
Well, sorry, in 2024, there was a meeting on the Jack Webster Bridge with the minister, and then, in 2025, another meeting was requested and declined.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So what are the other topics for that ministry? I agree with that Jack Webster is good. I'm just curious if we could deal with the board. Maybe this is a way to package. Is there something? Because we usually, is it 3 topics for the maximum of 3 topics?
Maximum of 3 topics. Yeah.
You said there was something else for forestry.
Correct. So, item number 8, which is continuation and expansion of the Fire Smart community funding and supports. Then there's also. And then there's, number 13, which is request of a provincially established standard for wildland fire operations. And then there is another one flagged for Ministry of Forest staff, which is number 6, which is maintenance concerns with respect to the Hurley River Forest Service Road and the review of the Hurley Road maintenance agreement. That would go to staff. So I think that can be left aside for the purposes of the minister meeting. So there's those 3 topics. Number 10, so I can clarify a little bit about that. If the committee wishes to proceed with more of a tourism angle on that issue, then that would not be a Ministry of Forests request. That would be a Minister of Environment and Parks request.
I'm gonna go to Lori and then Jackie and then.
So if we took that route and did the Ministry of Tourism, Arts, Culture and Sport, and then Lillooet, I'll take Lillooet to the Ministry of Forest, and we were requested there, then we can pull in, if we were to get that Ministry of Forest, then I could pull in Area B. Let's see.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay, so can we do Ministry of Tourism and Arts and Culture and Sport through the SLRD, and then I'll take the other one? Okay, great. Is that all right?
Yes, so if I can just clarify, I did email with UBCM yesterday asking them, and they did the BC Outdoor Recreation Strategy is Ministry of Environment and Parks with involvement from Ministry of Tourism, Arts, Culture and Sports. So, and you can only request 1 minister per meeting, so we would probably put that through Environment and Parks. And hopefully they'll pull in.
Just for efficiency, if we come to a decision, can we pass that motion? The motions have been drafted in your package. We just keep going. And just for clarity, if we get the ministry wrong, they're really good at passing the buck over to you.
They're not gonna put us in front of the wrong.
Wrong.
As long as our intention of what we want to speak about is from, is clear for staff through a resolution, then we'll let staff do what they need to do. Come to you, Jackie, then Armin, then Jenna.
Yeah, I was just gonna point out just exactly what Ms. Clark said about the BC Outdoor Recreation Strategy. I did read it. Thank you, CAO Paul, for passing that along. Do we burn or, it actually has, it's actually a pretty good strategy for what I've read. And they are actually addressing roads and the closure of roads and recreation. And so I'm wondering if they're actually have this new strategy and they're putting together committees and all the rest of it. I don't know what maybe that falls on a little bit lower priority for us as a board. I don't know, just a one thought thing to think about. Because they're putting together, they're supposed to be putting together some pretty good committees to deal with these things, especially that.
Okay.
What I think is maybe it's this, instead of a ministry meeting, it's a staff meeting, because staff have got their priorities and we can say, hey, we can help you with that.
Sure. Did you say you want a motion after each?
It would be helpful instead of us having to go
Topic.
back and doing them all, because we need a motion for
Okay.
these.
Armin, then Jenna, then Sal, if it's on this topic.
Yeah, sorry, I just want to go back to the Jack Webster piece to make sure I have this right. Ministry of Forests is what's proposed. It's not MODI for transportation because it's a BC Hydro, under the BC Hydro right away, and it's.
Again, we'll let staff figure out which minister to go to.
That's fine, but I was curious about just the tie-in with tourism, like we know that a lot of the use is outside of the residents' use of the area, so I'm just trying to figure out where, if we're pulling at the right strings, if we ask for tourism on this with the Sea to Sky Trail, with, you know, all that aspect, is that something that we should be considering at this point, or do we just, I'm fine, just leave it to see where the province thinks it fits, but I think it's our job also to tell them where it fits and then see if they, if we agree with that, so.
Could we do this? Because it's
We can, yeah.
almost 11.
Yeah.
And we still have almost all of yesterday's agenda to get through as well. Could we go through, pick out the topics that are most important to us, we choose 5 or 6. We don't get into the discussion points at this time or who the minister is, because that's something staff can figure out. We've got our letters that have informed why this list exists. And then as we go, if we get the meetings, then we'll see a report back on what we're gonna talk about at each of those meetings. Cause we're gonna be all day and I don't wanna do that. Is that okay with you?
Yes, yes.
Is that okay with you, Heather?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so Jack Webster Bridge.
Number 10, if we can go through Minister of Tourism or whatever, and we'll do Minister of Forests. And I also would have one request at number 7, the reinstatement of mattresses and foundations.
Yes.
Minister of Environment and Parks, and be happy to.
Whoever the minister is.
Whoever that is.
Yep, and
Doesn't matter.
Jenna, you're next.
In response to CEO Paul's request for actual motions, I was gonna say, based on the conversation I've heard, I would move that we request a meeting with the Ministry of Environment and Parks on item 3, enhanced provincial oversight and enforcement of camping on public lands for 14 days, the EPR for mattresses and recreational access to downtown Creek Forest Service Road.
Great,
I'll second it.
okay. Okay. Sal, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Regarding number 2 and number 6, we've already got communications back that we can meet with them. So it's just a matter of setting those up. We don't need to go to UBCM to do those.
Okay, so that's not on our list. So the motion that Jenna put forward was recreational access to Downton Creek Forest, et cetera, in electoral area B, Jack Webster Bridge.
Number 7, EPR.
Sorry, EPR on mattresses is also on my list, camping,
And number 3.
and not the Jack Webster Bridge.
That's Ministry of Forests. My motion was for Ministry of Environment.
Okay, we're not talking about the ministers though. But that's fine. I like your motion.
3 and 7.
3 and 7.
3, 7, and 10.
3, 7, and 10. Does everyone know what we're voting on? Okay. And then we'll come back to what Sal said. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Any other motions? Do you have a motion on Jack Webster Bridge now? We've had that meeting 50 times.
If I can just clarify, typically, sometimes, there's also identification of which elected officials. So that information goes in as part, so would you like us to?
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that by email. Thank you. We still have three months.
Next month, yeah.
Yeah. But the meeting request is the most important part because the deadline is this week, right? Yeah. Were there any others?
Deadline's not till the end of June.
For me?
The deadline's the end of June, June 24th for the meeting.
Okay. So that's when our next meeting is, and so we can't, so it is, doesn't matter, today is the day. Okay. Have we addressed number 2 and number 6 in a different meeting? Is that what you were saying, Sal? I don't hear you.
Sorry about that. The correspondence that we got from them was that we can hold a meeting with them anytime.
Okay,
We just got to schedule them. They don't have to be at UBCM.
great. We will do that. Thank you. And Armin, go ahead.
I would move that we request a meeting with the Ministry of Forestry for items 1, 8, and 13.
1, 8, and 13.
Yeah, so 1's the bridge, 8 is the Fire Smart, and 13 is the wildland fire operations, and I think, yeah, anyways, I'll speak to it in a bit second.
I'll second it.
I think this feels like the right topics for this. We can figure out what we lead with. I don't know if we need to prioritize that. I hear the frustration, I feel the frustration around how many times we've been back on the Jack Webster Bridge, but I think this is a good mix of things that are important, sort of broad concepts, and one that's very, very specific to one crossing of one creek. So.
Okay. Any other comments? The motion, just for everyone, is we're 1, 8, and 13. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Anyone else? Go ahead.
This is not on the list, but regional hospital districts don't get the opportunity to request meetings. But as the Sea to Sky Regional Hospital District, I do think it'd be helpful to request a meeting with the Minister of Health, specifically around capital planning and advancement of the Sea to Sky master plan.
And yes,
Long-term
we
care.
have had meetings on behalf of the SSRD, RHD in the past. So this is the appropriate place to ask for that.
That was emotional segment.
The motion is to request a meeting with Minister of Health for the SSRHD and master planning. Moved by Jenna, seconded by Armand. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Anyone else? Go ahead.
I had one, the LG cap resonated with me, so I would do that. I don't know if there's other ones to put with that, but.
No, we're gonna do that one through the chair.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, the collaborative.
So another one that might be in that bucket then is the whole PST thing, which hasn't come up on our list, but when I think about all the work we do and the impact that would have on us, do we want to leave that to a broader group, or is that something that we should?
There are many letters circulating about that. We could request, I don't think we'd get a meeting in Ministry of Finance on that, but we could ask. How many are we at now? I feel like we're at 5.
We're at 6. I got 1, 2, 7, 8, 10, and 13.
So I guess Squamish is.
District of Squamish is requesting meeting with Minister of PST and LG cap, so.
Let's leave it. See how we collaborate? We
Together.
use this network and the regional force for good.
I would say that on this list, number 4. I think we've done so much work here.
making sure the province isn't taking its foot off the gas and that we're maintaining funding and support to do what I think is really important work for us.
Heather?
Yeah, that was something that we requested last year and we were turned down, and it really speaks towards the legislative changes, the policies and the requirements in DRIPA that we are trying to move forward. And I think staff are doing an excellent job moving forward the guide. And it's about how are you funding some of that capacity from a provincial lens or supporting it.
Okay.
We can request one.
We can request it, yeah, so moved, seconded, any further discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carried. I think we've done it.
We have 5, 6, 9, 11, and 12. That don't have a motion.
We're not gonna do them all.
Okay.
Right?
I think we've technically only asked for 3 meetings.
Pardon me?
I think we've technically only asked for 3 meetings, although there's 6 topics.
We can have as many meetings as we want, but we can only have 3 topics per.
Yeah.
Right.
We've just got 3
but
that
I-
are 3 that are forests and 1 that's Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation.
Moving on. But
Number 9 does still jump out at me. I know this is a conversation that we have time and time again. It's around sustainable provincial funding model for search and rescue. It's something that we've tried to advance on our own in Squamish. I do think that there is a regional component here. And it may just be worth having yet another meeting on it, just to keep the pressure up.
Yeah.
It is, the need is not going away.
no. And the costs continue to rise.
Continue, and we have put in a lot of money from the regional district as well as from our municipalities on infrastructure, and so I'd request that meeting.
Yeah, I'll second.
Moved, seconded. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. But there's already 3, we've already made a meeting request for Minister of Environment. On those 3 topics, 3, 7, and 10. We can only make 1 meeting request per minister, maximum 3 topics per minister.
Let's go Minister of Finance or Minister of Tourism. Because what we find is that the majority of search and rescue call outs are for visitors to our beautiful region.
Yeah.
So it doesn't hurt
That's
to get
just tourism.
Minister Kang involved.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay,
So perhaps the resolution for either of those,
Yeah.
and then we'll
you'll figure it out.
figure it out.
Okay, anyone opposed? Motion carries.
One more question.
That's okay.
There is a lot of work going on the regional transit file, but it's something that we have requested every single year. And I feel like we would be giving ourselves a disservice if we didn't just request the meeting yet again, make sure that it continues to be, unless there are substantive, like, I think even just from keeping up the pressure and meeting.
Allison, what do you think? Yes. We'll ask with the Premier and Minister of Transportation. You know, I think Minister of Transportation will be disappointed if we don't ask. You know,
We'll just keep it up on both sides.
that's right.
They're
We're
expecting it.
becoming very close. Thank you. Okay, moved, seconded. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. That is it. Unless there's any, go ahead, Kristen.
Thank you. The number 6, which was a meeting request with staff from Ministry of Forests. Would we like to make that request?
I thought Director Demare said that we were gonna schedule that outside of UBCM.
Sorry. Okay.
Just to seek clarity.
Yeah.
Through the chair, just seeking clarity whether staff need a board motion to apply for staff meetings. Or if that's something that they feel empowered to do. They're happening virtually the week before UBCM this time around, so. I'm just curious if staff feel like they are able to do that or if they need board direction to do it.
Well, I'm looking to Kristen because there is a recommendation on package on the motion required for staff. And I just want to clarify, is that required or is that desired of the staff?
I don't think there's any requirement. It was just to make it really clear in terms of the next steps that would be taken in when those meeting points come in.
I think we'll leave it to staff to schedule the staff meetings that make the most sense. Thanks. Yep.
I just wondered about number 11, the improvements to the Canada Gap certification. I just wondered if someone could tell me anything about that, because I know it's still an issue.
Yeah, thank you, General Manager of Planning Development Services, thank you through the chair. Thank you, Director Rasmussen. This has been an advocacy topic driven through our AACs and through the board in past years. My recollection was our last letter was in 2024. So there is an opportunity to connect on that topic again. I do recall Chair Ford had a meeting with the minister on this topic. I'm not sure that we necessarily got that far. There was discussion around by BC programs, kind of skimmed over the sort of Canada Gap certification challenges, and we do hear this as a recurring challenge from all of our agriculture areas in the SLRD.
Yeah,
It's important.
it is.
It's still a challenge. It hasn't gone away. It hasn't been improved.
I wonder if we write a letter sooner than UBCM.
Sure. I'm gonna make a motion for that.
I don't think we have enough to formulate the resolution though.
Okay, fair.
Let's come back. Let's go offline with that.
Okay.
We'll figure that out for next meeting.
The letter from the last letter and nothing, that just changed, so we bring that up into this year.
Okay.
You have direction.
Moved by Jackie, seconded by Armand. To write the letter, to reframe the letter we've already written and resend it in a more persistent way. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
And sorry, can I just get a little clear? So I believe, like, we've named ministries, but if staff, well, we are free to change the ministries. We don't, as needed, based on further investigations.
Okay, we're moving on. Let's just take a 2-minute recess, please, to reset our brains, and it's 11. Monica, welcome. Go ahead.
Morning, I'm Monica Halitsky, HR Manager for the SLRD. This staff report is bringing back some supplementary information, which the board requested at the March board meeting in order to guide further direction on new and existing remuneration elements or areas. The additional areas for board remuneration covered in this report include information and proposed parameters for a definition for regional district business, proposed parameters for dependent care provisions, a new proposed allowance scheme for long distance telephone, fax, internet, and cell phone expenses, new parameters for eligible mileage claims while on regional district business, including all directors being eligible to claim mileage for travel over 80 kilometers. And parameters for the reimbursement of eligible expenses associated with board directors attending conferences and professional development. The report also presents a new item for consideration and includes current market data for regional district stipends. Stipend amounts were last compared against other regional district board stipends back in 2023, and then again at the end of last year. It's been recognized that many regional districts have since changed their board stipends, so the report presents some current market data from other regional districts for comparison. think that pretty much sums it up. Staff are here to answer any questions and look forward to specific direction on the proposed updates to the bylaw.
Awesome, thank you. Questions? How did we come to the number 80 kilometers?
That's in the current bylaw.
Okay,
I
is
believe.
that based on some like standard of practice that?
He came up with that in about 2016.
Okay, go ahead.
I would make a recommendation that it be 77, because it's 76 to 79 kilometers round trip from Whistler. And so it feels just on the cusp, but I think that for fairness, it makes sense to bring
Put it
down
to 60
to
then.
70 or
Put it to
something.
60.
Sure.
We get support for a motion to change 80 kilometers to 60 kilometers. Therefore, we are including everybody that needs to travel in. Moved by Lori, seconded by Jackie. Comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Anything else from anyone else? Moni?
Were you looking for a comment or a question?
Comment or question, whatever you want. I want to
Okay,
make sure that you're comfortable with this because this was your.
well, okay, quick, short answer to that. No, I'm not. But first of all, I'd like to recognize that I do appreciate the work that's gone into this report and the time that I believe that Monica wasn't here when we first looked at this. But anyway, I do appreciate the work that's gone into it. I don't particularly like the conclusions. I just want to remind the board that the EAD committee brought a resolution to the board this time last term, so just before the elections. And what that resolution said was we would increase the amount of remuneration to the EADs by $5,000 a year, so that by the time we got to this year, the stipend would be $50,000 plus the roundabout plus any CPI over the 4 years. So it would probably be in the 52 to 55 range. The rationale for that was that it would make the position a little more attractive to more members of the community. At the moment, where it was 4 years ago, for sure, and where it still is today, you need to have another source of income to be able to do this job. Most of it, if you look at the EADs right now, we all have retired people with pensions. So at the time, I said, for me personally, it wasn't a factor, but that I knew it was based on conversations with constituents for other people who had a part-time job, for example, a secondary wage earner in a family, a part-time job earning sort of $45,000, $50,000 a year, took a look at the stipend for EAD. No, thank you. I can't afford to do that. So that was the argument for it. And I will note that it was reported in the Chief and the Peak at the time, and that I'm not aware of any negative comments about it. There was no outcry from the public about, oh my goodness, this is too much money. Nothing like that. In fact, I got comments from people in my area that, yes, that makes sense. And we should be paying you guys more. But the board rejected the argument, decided we wanted to study what's going on around the province, and that we're more interested in sort of the average, the median, and making sure that we don't stand out, whatever it is, whatever the reason is around this table, that we have to look at averages. What's the result? I haven't got a candidate committed to running in Area D. this year. And I know that the stipend is part of the reason. So I would be making a motion now that let me just look at the chart. They get the district right. That we match the Nanaimo stipend, which would put it to 53,612 for each of our area directors. Anything less than that, and I won't be supporting it. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else have any comments on this topic before we move a motion? Go ahead, Chris, and then we'll go to Russell.
Yeah, I appreciate what Director Rainbow said. I think the challenge with that, or if we go down that road, I think municipal directors are actually in a somewhat similar situation. You know, we've been having a conversation earlier today about what exactly is the role. And so just talking about the compensation part, there's that other half. And so I think the picture changes possibly. Like the other argument is maybe we need to do a better job of explaining what the role is. And then these remuneration numbers maybe start to make a lot more sense in that context. And so I guess that's where I'm struggling with part of, well, I understand what Director Rainbow is saying, there's that other side of it too.
Thank you, Preston.
Yeah, the problem now I'm having, like, I totally agree with Director Rainbow. I mean, we brought this up at the end of last term. And the consensus, or what we were told at that time, was, oh, we'll wait till the end of this term and we'll do the adjustment then, because I thought that the right way to do it would be if we were saying increase it by $20,000, you do it $5,000 a year for 4 years, and it's not a big hit each year. And at the end of the year, or at the end of the term, you accomplish what you set out to do. Well, we were kind of outvoted on that and said, no, people don't do it at the beginning of the term, they do it at the end of the term, because you're going out the door and they may not be coming back anyway, so they feel good about it. But the problem with that is, like, I don't feel good now at the end of our term saying to our constituents, oh, by the way, we're going to raise the stipend by X number of dollars, and thank you very much. And oh, by the way, I'm not going to run again, so it doesn't matter to me. Well, I have a problem with that. I think it should be done, and whether people have tried it and they didn't like it, I think it should be done at the beginning of the term, and then it carries through. And when you get to the end of the term, the number is there, and then it just goes by CPI or whatever forward. But that adjustment should be made at the beginning of your 4-year term, not at the end. And I know it's always done at the end, and it just seems.
If you change the way you frame it to, we're not voting for an increase for ourselves, we're voting for an increase for the next people.
I understand that.
And that's a far easier thing.
But what if you are gonna run again?
What if I am?
No, but so because I intend to, so I would be voting for a raise for myself for next term,
Yeah,
right?
but you might not get reelected.
Well, sure, and you may not
I
either.
might not either.
So I mean, that's the chance you take, right?
But
You know, it's like everything. That's the chance you take.
Well,
But,
I hear what you're saying. I hear what Tony is saying. I
Yeah.
think that this was a process we wanted to go through. So I really understood the budget impacts of this, the political impacts of this, and really the workload for area directors is now, I think, very well understood that everyone does it differently. And the amount of time that you put into this work is what you get out of it. You know, Lori, you had your hand up. And then I think just in the interest of time, I'm happy to entertain a motion or entertain a deferral if we want to defer it to the next term. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say a lot of what you've just said is that I like the averages. I think that we ask for averages because I think that everybody that has this job, whether it's an EAD or a mayor or a counselor, you have the choice of what you're putting into it. You really, some people don't put anything into it. Some people put everything into it, and some people put the medium amount. And therefore, taking the average is where I go because everybody is different. Everybody at this table is different. So, yeah, I have a hard time, giving a raise of $20,000. I can't support that. So that's me. Thank you.
I do think this is important, and I've seen this to the when it should occur. We're here today, we can't go back, so that's one structural factor of it, but also I've seen a few of these at local governments attempt to be done midterm, and it's not, I've not seen one go well for even with good documentation and a strong case. So I do think that it's important that we take this on now. But how far do we want to get? Are we trying to get to recommendation on all these pieces today, or what's the next touch point if we're not? I just want to make sure that I understand what we're trying to get to today.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
Thank you. Our desire would be to bring a bylaw next, and some of these touch points did have motions of support or not. I think right now, if we can compartmentalize it by discussion, and I think the stipend discussion you have in front of you, staff didn't make a recommendation, you have in front of you the average and the median of what was looked at. And also if you want to defer it and ask staff to come back for with more information, that's also an option. The reason why we target for June to have the bylaw or July is exactly what Director Ringo was saying, with to get that information out there while people are trying to make a decision on whether or not they're going to run.
So given there's a lot of information in this report, and I don't see asking staff to come back with more information actually gives us more information. I don't.
It's a big report.
It's a big report, and we've been going through this for months. You know, if there was some new information that needed to come back, then let's have that discussion.
And we did that.
And we did that. So, go ahead.
The intention of this report is just to present some objective information for the board's consideration, and there's some specific pieces in here that, as CAO Paul mentioned, we'd like to bring back a draft bylaw at an upcoming meeting with those specific figures, I guess. So with respect to the stipends, the data that's presented, it's subjective data. A lot of regional districts have updated their remuneration in the last few months or this year. And so we've presented the average stipend and the median stipend. They're similar. The difference, median is used when there's one outlier. And so if there's one large outlier, we probably look at using median, but in the data that of the 11 regional districts, there doesn't appear to be any large outliers. So perhaps the average amounts would be more.
I'm comfortable with the table, and I would move that we support the table of the average of the 11 regional districts on page 93 of the package. Not the median table, but the average table. So 41,980 for an EA director, 20,713 for municipal director, etc. I'm comfortable moving that if anyone would like to second that as a motion. Second that. Janice?
Just clarify that includes updating the board chair and the vice chair stipends as well, or just the director?
Yeah, no, I meant that table. And it's seconded. Any comments? Oh, sorry, Tony, your hand has been up.
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, I think I will support this. I do appreciate bringing us up to the average and appreciate staff bringing the new information. It is that time of year that boards are typically doing this work. And I think we want to stay in line. I hear my colleague, Director Rainbow, that this may not be sufficient for him. I do think it is reflective, I think also of our member municipalities and the amount that folks are getting paid for the variety of jobs that we hold in local government. Some may argue are typically underpaid. And I think that this is a fair kind of continuing to catch up. It is, as others have said, there's a variety of ways to hold these roles, and it does require flexibility and creativity, and remuneration is one part of that. Like, I think even if we were paying a living wage across the board at a full-time salary, it would still be really difficult just because of the nature of these jobs. So I often hold the belief that it's not just the dollars at the end of the day. It is a big part of somebody's decision, but it is definitely usually not the like sole deciding factor. My one hesitation is around the board chair and the vice chair stipends included in this motion, and that's just because we did do a mid-year or a midterm update on those two roles when we first started this work, because they were so out of sync. And so I'm a little bit hesitant to increase those yet again, just a few years in, but I will give that some thought before I vote.
Yeah, I will support this. I think, just recognizing and observing how much work there is for the board chair and vice chair, I'm comfortable with that piece, notwithstanding our earlier work. I guess the conflict in this for me is, I think the gap between EA director and municipal director, I understand there are differences. Implicit in this, it's sort of at odds, I think, with some of our other discussions of what is the role. It implies a lot that I don't think is really necessarily consistent with some of our other discussions wholly. At the same time, we've seen acclamations in the area directors, and repeatedly we're hearing it's hard to get people to run still, and so we have to tackle that somehow. And so in the balance, I'm comfortable supporting this to hopefully address that.
Okay.
Yes, I do think, I hear Director Rainbow's comments, and I think we're making an informed, this table was arrived at after much research, so thank you for that, for a sort of ground truth this conversation. I do think that there's that sort of broader values discussion about who can hold these seats, and thank you, Director Rainbow, for bringing that forward. I do think that looking at the comparables and just giving this a lot of consideration, I think the sort of defaulting to the average is a reasonable path forward. The matter of the board chair and the vice chair section of this, I think sort of highlights that there's still work to do here by the motion that's been put forward to get to an average compensation for that additional work that those roles entail. And I think that it highlights why we needed to act earlier in those particular roles when it was highlighted that they were outliers, and then this gets us sort of aligned with an average. So I'll support this, but I think it reinforces why we need to make that decision earlier on these particular roles, because we're well out of whack at the start of this term. So happy to support.
Okay, anyone else with anything different? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Oh, are you opposed, Tony?
Yes, I am.
Let the record reflect. Anyone else? Okay. Go ahead.
It's kind of hidden, so I just wanted to point out that there wasn't enough information about the chair of the EAD committee. So there was a comment here that if currently it's paid $4,143 as a top-up stipend. And if the board wanted to so desire, maybe aligning it similar to board vice chair or another role. We just didn't have enough information to
Okay.
bring you something, but if you're moving things up.
Yeah. Anything?
I think that, I know from doing it for a number of years, there's a lot of time and effort put in, and I know Vivian is super conscientious and does that. Tony was the same way. So,
It's a lot of work.
yeah, it is, and you're just one person doing that. So yeah, I don't have a problem with increasing that,
Aligning it with the,
whatever you is.
I'll second that.
So I just, I think a way to do that would be to add board vice chair and electoral area chair of EAD. Is it EAD chair is the title in this table, like just to align it?
same amount, the
It
7.
feels like we'd be
100.
really, really close. Is
Yeah.
that?
We've already had motions. We can add that to the table later, but we'll need a separate motion for the.
Yeah, so I'll move that the
I have a motion,
I didn't.
was to align it with the board vice chair stipend. And it was seconded. So I can't really tender a new motion.
Sorry, the motion I heard was agnostic to the mechanism, but if that's, if that's the motion, then I'll support it, but that's not the motion I heard.
Jenna?
I think just seeking some clarity, I appreciate the difference in the EAD committee. We do have other committees, the policy development committee, and it could be at the discretion of a future board to add more committees. And so I'm just cognizant of the differentiation that we're creating in committee chair structure, and appreciate that the EAD is a bit of a different beast, but I'm hesitant to simply align it to the vice chair role without some further due diligence on what it means for other committee chairs.
Okay, I have Tony, then Lori. Yeah, I'm really confused, but Tony, go ahead.
I just, oh God, I just wanted to comment on the things, the meetings that EA directors can claim travel for. And there's a bullet point there that says business incurred within a director's electoral area jurisdiction, including but not limited to neighborhood, residence or community association meetings or official ceremonies, unless specifically authorized by the board to attend the meeting on behalf of the board, and that such costs are considered to be rolled into the annual stipend. Again, the annual stipends.
We have a motion on the floor, Tony, and it's completely unrelated to what you've just brought up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry that I didn't cut you
Yeah.
off sooner. I
That's
want to
fine.
deal with the motion on the floor. And I'm happy to consider deferral of the rest of these expenses so that we can get the staff to come back with more information. To consider these points that have been made, that there are other committees, there are other responsibilities of certain members. That, like, what about the people that are appointed to outside committees and the time that they spend to go to the LMLGA and that kind of thing. So I think maybe it was premature to consider the motion about the EAD committee and other committees stipends. Am I speaking Greek right now? I'm feeling a little bit.
I think we're all thinking this whole thing.
For sure. Go ahead.
So just, I apologize for seconding right away. What I thought that Director Mack was saying is that we should take the EAD committee chair who receives a top-up stipend of 4,143, put it into the average and increase it with the other medium averages. And that's all I thought that your motion was, and I was supporting that.
Okay.
So I think that that is a way to go, and then bring that back, have staff bring that back, but include the EAD again as 41, 43, and what that average would look like, and then we'll vote on it at that time. That's why I seconded it. So does that make more sense?
Yeah, can I get some, just to clarify what I'm understanding, and it actually is a great pathway forward, if that was the motion, and I'll check with after this, is we've passed a motion on the increases. We grab the average percentage of that increase and we apply it to the outliers that don't have enough information. So if the average of this increase is like 12%, then the EAD committee chair gets a 12% increase. Exactly. Is that?
Yeah,
I
like that. It's
I
clear.
don't know if that was that the motion?
Okay, sorry, the previous motion that I have in regards to stipend is that that staff update the director's remuneration bylaw to include the average stipend for directors, which is including electoral area director, municipal director, EA chair, and board chair, as outlined in the table in the staff report.
No.
Board chair and vice chair.
EA chairs and vice chair.
It's the
So the-
table on 93.
See, there's no it's board vice chair, so there's no EA chair, EAD chair.
It's not mentioned.
It's not mentioned in that table. So I think the motion's correct, because they referred to this table, but the EAD chair is not on the table.
Apologies.
And then the other motion that was seconded on the floor.
And then the second one, the one that I have is that the EA chair stipend be aligned with the board vice chairs.
Yeah, I didn't hear that as what it was, that it was aligned with the chair. I thought that it was just the EAD was to be added in there.
EAD chair would be aligned with the
Average.
the average.
We don't have that.
Okay, that's my apologies.
That's the motion that we're dealing with now. That's,
For me,
sorry, that's the motion we're dealing with now, just to be.
Do you want to read it?
We're gonna get Angela to read it to us again.
That the electoral area chair stipend be aligned with the average stipend outlined in the table.
That is confusing. Can we fail this motion so that we can clean this up? And I'm gonna ask. I think I want staff to come back with the bylaw, with the budget impact of this increase. No?
We have it right.
Sorry, okay. Sorry. This is where.
May I make a suggestion?
Please, save me.
So staff can bring back some information regarding the EAD committee chair stipend. And with Director Stoner's point, there are other, so in the current bylaw, there's only one committee where the board chair receives a stipend, it's the EAD committee. There are other SLRD committees. The board chair, the chairs of those committees do not receive any additional meeting fees or stipends. So staff can bring back information surrounding that.
You want to speak to that? Cause I feel like that was kind of what you were saying.
Happy to. Do we want to defeat the motion on the floor?
Yes, I'm calling the question. Anyone opposed? Everyone opposed? Thank you. Motion carried, motion fails, and we are moving on to a clean slate. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. My intent isn't necessarily to direct staff to do a whole bunch of extra work in exploring all the, like, we don't actually have that many committees. I do think just if we have pretty clear direction on those 4 pieces, if staff can come back with a suggestion of how to align an increase for an EAD committee chair relative to the other increases, that would be a helpful piece of work. I don't want to open up a whole can of worms of like whether we provide stipends for
every other committee,
for all the other committees and the external appointments. Like that's a big piece of work that could be a bit of a can of worms, and we can leave that for a future board. But I think just aligning the EAD committee chair up, like increase to a percentage of some sort, maybe not all the way to the board vice chair, I think it would be more reasonable to me. And then I think just providing some quick direction on some of the other items here so that staff have clarity on what to bring back. So my thoughts on the childcare component is that we actually go with option 1. I appreciate it's more cumbersome on the admin piece, but an annual stipend still just feels very odd to me for dependent care subsidy. That the long distance telephone, fax, cell phone expenses be paid out at a $1,500 level. And we've dealt with the transportation, dropping it to 60 kilometers. I think that was it.
Oh,
You need to reaffirm the definition of regional business.
yeah, so this is to Tony's point.
Oh, and I love I thought that was a very clear definition. Made good sense of what is included in the annual stipend and why we've been increasing the annual stipend, in part for it to be more attractive as a role, but also to ensure that we have organizational administration efficiency and that we're not providing expenses for every single item that we're going to, that's just part of the job.
Tony?
No, I have no comment.
Sorry, was that a motion?
I don't think it needs to be, because I think staff are gonna come back with it in the bylaw. Yeah.
I'm supportive of what Director Stoner said. I would lean towards option 2 on the dependent care subsidy, but if going with option 1 is what it takes to move us along as a group, we've made some good progress here and I could live with that. So.
Do you want us to vote on it? Option 1 versus option 2? I think I think that's, I agree that the annual allowance is difficult to, it's easier to administer, but it's more difficult to understand. And I think a per meeting as laid out in option 1 is much clearer and more inclusive. So I think that makes.
Second that, it feels like a motion.
Yeah. Anyone else on option 1? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. I don't think we have any other decisions to make on this, right? Anybody with anything else that you don't feel comfortable with?
The only thing that we have deferred was just the EAD chairs.
Yeah.
The other 4,
So we don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion, I think from Director Stoner, is that 1,500 is the number on long distance. Who's using a fax? Doctor's offices, that is the remaining fax users. Moved by Director Stoner, seconded by Director Herford. Any comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Are we done?
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Chair's verbal update, nothing to report today. Right? There's nothing for committee of the whole. Any late business for committee of the whole? Motion to adjourn committee of the whole, please. Moved by Director Stoner, seconded by Director Morton. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Which agenda do we go to now?
To the open board agenda. And 8.6.
You're such a good secretary. Okay, 8.6, we have a development variance for parcel line setbacks at 367 Stafford Road. Are we waiting for?
Sorry, where are we? We 8.6?
8.6. And we have Ms. Katerniak. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you,
Talk to us
Chair.
about Stafford Road.
So item 8.6 is a development variance permit in Gun Lake area. So it's actually a rebuild after the Downton Lake fire. They're building on the same foundation. And so the setbacks they're requesting is a variance to the rear setback from 4.5 to 3.4 meters, side setback from 1.5 to 1.3 meters, the front setback from 7.5 to 1.9 meters, and the Ministry of Transportation right-of-way setback from 4.5 to 1.9 meters. They did obtain permission from both the Ministry of Water for the riparian encroachment and the Ministry of Transportation for the proximity to the roadway right-of-way. So let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
So they're gonna build on the previous existing foundation layout?
Through the chair, yes.
And that, I'll support this.
Okay. Director Demare.
Muted.
You're muted.
Can I make a comment and then a motion?
Yep.
Okay. For those that went on the tour of the Downton Lake wildfire, I'm sure you remember the devastation on Stafford Road area and how close the structures were to Gun Lake and the Stafford Road. The SLRD was able to work with the Ministry of Water, Land, and Resource Stewardship so that property owners could build on their old structures footprint. This is the first one that has come to the board due to the variances required for the property owner to build their new structure. And if you haven't been back, you'd be amazed what those properties look like. There's a number of them that have been totally cleaned up. There's a couple that haven't been cleaned up totally yet, but this is the first one on Stafford Road that is moving ahead. So with the riparian approved by the ministry and also by the Ministry of Transportation and Transit, I would like the motion to approve the variances as presented in the agenda.
What does that mean? Well, if you can still hear us, we cannot hear you. I think we're having technical difficulties.
You couldn't hear me?
We can hear you now.
We heard
what,
everything.
did you hear it?
Just the motion. You can repeat your motion.
Yeah. With the riparian approval by the ministry and also by the Ministry of Transportation and Transit, I would like to make the motion to approve the variances as presented in the agenda item.
Thank you. And it's seconded by Director Morton. Any further comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Director Demare. 8.7. This is an information report regarding the public notice plan for electorals area A and B in the legislative requirements.
Thank you, General Manager of Corporate Services, Angela Belsham. This report provides the board with an update on the temporary public notice process being used for electoral areas A and B. While no local newspaper is in circulation in that area at this time. This report outlines the temporary public notice approach that staff are using to provide public notice in affected areas until a local newspaper resumes regular distribution. So where publication is not practicable or alternative means may be used based on the Local Government Act. So we we follow the default mechanism for that. And so we've provided in this report alternative means that we're already undertaking in absence of that newspaper. And at this point, we do not have an update as to whether or not that newspaper will come back online at some point. So we have moved towards these alternative means. And then the next steps is that the corporate department has identified the exploration of statutory public notice requirements as a priority within the Governance Excellence Initiatives Work Plan. And staff will be bringing forward a future report for board consideration, outlining options under the applicable legislation, particularly if the newspaper in Area A and B does not come back online.
Thank you for that report. I did speak to the owner of the Bridge River Lillooet News, and I gave him a link to a government funding project that was helping small newspapers in rural communities. And he said that he was going to look into it and see what happens. But at this point, it's still on pause, like I say, and he's very hard to get a hold of. Yes.
So we're seeing.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll receive the report and thank you. Just the challenges facing local media are wild, and I'm encouraged that in the report it says until such time as the newspaper comes back, so that local governments play a role, I think, in supporting these local publications. So if this was happening, does come back, I want to make sure that, and I think I have high confidence based on what I see here in the report, that that will happen, and that's revenue that's available to these outlets, should they be able to find another way to keep going. So yeah, thank you.
Director Demare?
Yes, thank you. There's one more for Area A, would be to post at the SLRD Gold Bridge Community Complex on the bulletin board. And add that.
Thank you, Director Demare. There was some conversations amongst staff around that and some of the challenges associated with having staff getting up into those rural areas so that we're consistent in that process. So we can't always say that we are going to be able in a timely manner to make it up into some of those more rural areas to make sure that we're posting the notice and then removing the notice once it's expired. So we did have some internal conversation around some concerns and being consistent with that. But it certainly did come up as conversation amongst us and whether or not we did have the ability to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
One thing that doesn't look like it's mentioned is in Area A, they have the Mountain Telegraph, which is an online advertising.
Yeah, and
is that in there
Thank you
somewhere?
very much, Director Rasmussen, because that is also a conversation that we've had internally, and I may defer that to Patricia Westerholm.
Yeah, so Patricia Westerholm, Director of Communications and Engagement with the SLRD, and just through the chair and further to what Angela was saying, we are aware of that publication. We do work with them on sharing information when it's relevant to the area. They have quite a long lead out time to be able to get information to them in order to publish it in a timely manner. It doesn't similar to being able to post on community bulletin boards, we just can't really rely on it as a consistent channel just for that regard, because it's a monthly distribution, and that you do have to submit your items to them quite far in advance. So often it just doesn't work out from a timing perspective. Yeah.
Okay. The motion on the floor is to receive the report. I'll call the question. All in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, request for decision regarding the Furry Creek street lighting and budgeted capital expenditures. Hello.
Hi. Omar Batra, Manager of Infrastructure and Environmental Services. SLRD owns and maintains 120 streetlights in Furry Creek. We started a project in 2024 for capital replacement of their damaged streetlights. And we also had a separate contractor paint all the streetlights we've received late invoices for some of the work. My understanding is there was delays in getting some of the parts and or communication between the contractor. So we did not include this with the 2026 budget. These invoices attached to close out the capital replacement project, and anything further is part of the regular operations and maintenance budget. And we do have a lot of contractors who submit invoices late, sometimes years late. So that's one of the next steps, is to make sure we do a better job with that and have them close out the budget for year end. But this report is requesting that the board approve the allocation of 34,536 from Prairie Creek Streetlight capital reserves towards unbudgeted streetlight replacement project. And that a 2026 budget amendment be requested to include this into the cost center for 1804. And this initial project was funded through the reserves as well. This capital replacement project was funded through the reserves as well. Yeah. So we're just asking for the remainder of this to be funded through the reserves.
Director Rainbow.
Yes, thank you for the report, General Manager. But I just like to comment that these lights were in really bad shape 3 years ago. The community wasn't very happy about it. Excuse me. But I just want to say thank you now to General Manager Butt and his team, because they've not only worked to get them brought into good condition, but the communication with the local association has been first class. People are happy. And having said that, I'd like to move option 1.
Sorry, you caught me with my mouth. Director Rainbow moves it. Anyone second? Seconded by Director Pettengill. Director Herford.
Yes, I'm supportive of this. I'm just curious around, this is sort of budgeted work that didn't get invoiced in the appropriate time frame. Is that that's what I heard.
I thought a lot of it was requested in 2024, and then we didn't have great communication with the contractor, and then we didn't know what was ordered and what was done.
So in future, or normally if this happens, it's a carry forward on the project and it's handled that way, but this was just it didn't occur in this case and we're correcting it now. I just want to make sure that I have that clear in my mind. So happy to see this. That's
Any other comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Omar. Request for decision regarding solid waste and resource management plan update.
I don't know if
She's joining right now.
okay, perfect.
You may want to start the introduction.
Yeah, so this is the second part of our Public and Technical Advisory Committee. This is for requesting the board representatives. So I think that's, we need a board representative and an alternate board representative for the committee.
And we were going with Russell. And the alternate is someone on the board or what?
Someone on the board.
Someone from our board. Do we have someone?
Tony has his hand up.
I don't think Tony wants to do it. You'll do it? Awesome.
So I will move.
I also, right before it's moved, I believe Director Birch Jones was interested in, and I don't know if anybody's had a chance to chat with her before this meeting. Also.
No. Okay. We can always make changes later. Right?
So I'll move Director Mack with the backup.
Jen as the alternate.
Sorry.
Alternatives allowed to be on committees?
No. Okay. So the motion moved by Director Herford, seconded by Director Hoffel to have Director Mack and alternate Bennett Stoner. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Sorry, Lou.
Thank you very much, everybody.
We can't see you.
Okay.
I know.
Okay, and now she's gone. You kicked her out.
Yeah, to the committee, yeah.
Okay, everyone clear? Thank you.
It's like, wait.
Moving on. 8.10 is an information report. We've seen this, we've heard it, we love it. Tell us about it.
Yeah, keep it brief.
Yeah.
You've seen these financials before. There aren't any changes other than the fact that we've added the auditor's report to the full package, and we're just bringing them to the board's review. Just requesting a resolution to receive the financial statement package.
Moved by Director Morton, seconded by Director Herford. Comments? No comments.
Thank you.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. 8.11 is a request for decision for a partnering agreement related to trail maintenance to be undertaken by Furry Creek Community Association on portions of Loop Trail and Culver's Landing North Trail. Mark.
Yes. So you kind of crashing out of this.
I can do my verbal.
Naivety with the handling.
Okay, I'm gonna move, we're gonna skip 8.11 and we'll get back to that one in a minute. Oh, there's Kristen. Never mind. Hello.
Thank you. Wilson Clark, Director of Strategic Services. So last month, the board asked staff to bring back an agreement that facilitates the provision of $13,000 of area D amenity funds in respect of the Furry Creek Community Association's funding request. So this provides that framework. It's a way to do it. There's a few loose ends, such as the landowner is interested in entering into a license of some sort with the community association, so that will have to be done between those two parties. And that's actually referenced in the partnering agreement. There's a reference to any agreement that those two parties need to get in place, needs to be put in place. And then the partnering agreement kind of just ties everything together. So there are the recommendations that we're going to do this partnering agreement. First of all, that license or whatever agreement the property owner is going to require with the community association will have to be put in place. And then a notice and then we can proceed with this notice of intent to enter to provide assistance under a partnering agreement. That notice would be run for 2 weeks in the Squamish chief. And then the SLRD would be free to enter into that partnering agreement. And then subject to that, all parties signing that's a partnering agreement up to 13,000 could be provided to the community association. And the reason I have changed it from 13 to up to 13 because of staff's gonna have to work with the community group a little bit to make sure that all the work is actually being done on the private land and not on any of the anywhere else. There could be some road right of ways. So that piece still needs to be worked out a little bit. And I see staff working with the community group to ensure that where the work is being done is on the private land, not on any public land or road right of way.
My apologies if I missed this in the background. Is there a public right of way on these trails? The statutory right of way?
No.
And why? Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Tony? See
I'm
you
not sure what you
unmuted.
want me to say. You know, in the last meeting, I talked about the trails in Furry Creek. The whole plan of those trails was put together by the FCCA and Fine Peace. There wasn't any formal agreement signed at the time, but there's definitely cooperation. There are parts of the trails which where there is a public right of way. I don't think any of it would fit under the open spaces budget, but I think that's something that needs to be looked at for next year. I'm hoping that whatever's done with this agreement, there can be some way of, instead of the funding coming out of amenities funds or select funds, can come out of that cost center. Just a question about, if I may, to Kristen about the process here. So the agreement between the FCC and Fine Peace, that's the first thing that has to happen. Is that correct?
Yes, through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, so and once you've got that, then you can publish it in the Squamish Chief to move the process along.
That's correct. Once that formalizing that use of the trails is put in place between the property owner and the community association, and then the both parties would have to look at the partnering agreement. We'd like to make sure that there's not any major issues with it, and make sure everyone's aligned in principle on that. And then I would recommend we proceed to spend the money to do the notice in the newspaper.
So what would be the earliest time do you think they could get the money? And the reason I ask this is because they had some money and they employed somebody, and they would like to continue to employ him, but they're running out of money. So when do you think would be the earliest they could receive money from the SLRD?
I think that's a little out of our control. I think because the corporate landowner and the community association is going to have to get that license in place.
Okay.
That's going to happen between them. And then once that happens, then it could happen quite quickly. We have to do the advertising. So there'd be, the 2 weeks of advertising, maybe a week ahead of time to get that in the paper. And then, depending on how long it takes for those two groups to get that agreement in place, we could probably, that funding could be provided within,
Do they have to put the agreement thing together themselves, or is that something that we've provided that they need to sign?
That would be something that they would have to work together. I don't see the SLRD being involved in that unless the board directs that, but that agreement's between the community association and the landowner.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you through the chair. I'm just wondering if I can seek some clarity on our approach here and potential precedent setting. Are there other areas where we use public funds to maintain trails on private land? Either through a partnering agreement or some other mechanism?
Yeah, not that I.
Thank you. Okay.
Go ahead.
Just a clarity with staff. The private beach, is that a trail? It's not a trail. A road path.
At the beach at Furry Creek?
At Pinecrest. I'm just thinking, is there precedent?
I don't consider it a trail, but we have funding things that are in private stratas.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Through this mechanism, partnering agreement
No.
through amenities funds to the strata.
So
Select.
which trail are you referring to now?
The beach at Pinecrest,
Oh, at Pinecrest, sorry.
it is private land. Okay, well, Tony, have you got a desire here to support this as laid out in the package, or how do you feel about this?
No, how I feel is what I said at the last meeting. We provided this money last year without question. So I don't object to the move we are making here. I think the idea of having the agreements in place, that's fine. I would have preferred that we funded it right now, because it's now the trails are being used, and as I say, this is not for the residents of Furry Creek. This is for visitors. This is for residents of other parts of the regional district and for Metro. So I would prefer that we release the money now so that we could guarantee that that person that is working is going to continue to work through the next month or a few weeks. And I'm confident that these two groups, Fine Peace and Furry Creek Community Association, will comply and get this agreement in place. So I would request that we release the money now. Is there a reason we can't do that, given that we have already got a precedent for doing it last year?
Kristen? Or Suzanne?
I'm not really, I'm not sure what was funded last year.
Exactly the same as we're asking now. Exactly the same.
Thank you. Thank you. We, having been a little bit, I think what happened a lot this year is staff asked the additional question of asking for a map, and then the map showed that it's on private property, which triggered the Local Government Act about using public funds to enhance private properties.
Sorry, Jenna? Yeah, we didn't know that what was being done last year was on private land. Now we know, it changes the discussion. So I think staff need to go through the process that is before them through our legislative process. I think, Tony, if they have watched this meeting, they will see that we are following the rules as we know them. And we will get them the money once the agreement is created.
Okay. That's my second choice.
Okay, but can we move it as is?
Yes.
To meet the staff objectives and get the work done?
Yes. Okay.
Moved by Tony, seconded by Director Morden. Any comments? Go ahead.
These trails are beautiful. I've been there. It's lovely. I struggle with this this overall concept of that staff have found a path through. It does feel like, not knowing the cost of coming up with these agreements and being ready to be here today, which comes from the group resources, for this small amount is a struggle. I'll support it now, but I think in the longer term, unless there's some sort of right of way or some guarantee that this work isn't going to be wiped away with the next application to redevelop the lands or whatever else happens, which is why we don't do these things in private lands in this way, struggle in future, but I'll support this at this point.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Opposed? Director Stoner and Director Petgill. Anyone else? No. Okay. Thank you. Okay, 9.1 Chair's verbal report. I do have a few things to report back as I was away last month doing work in Victoria. First thing that I'm going to report on, I will come to the roundtable at the end. I was elected by my peers to sit as a trustee for the Municipal Finance Authority. which is exciting and educational, and it doesn't mean we're gonna get more money. But it does give me some insight into how the billions of dollars that MFA manages is allocated. And I'm looking forward to working with the new chair, Tom Dias from Kelowna, who is an exceptional leader, and I'm excited to learn from him. At that same gathering, the chairs of the 27 regional districts got together to create a terms of reference, which is not yet approved, but it is sort of a working group of not to create a new organization, but to bring forward the unique challenges of regional districts that don't fit into the box of a municipality or of an exclusively rural challenge or exclusively regional challenge. It's a really engaged group of people, and it will be co-chaired by Will Cole Hamilton from Homox and Sarah Younks from Fraser Fort George. So it's a really cool group, and I'm excited to work with them. And I attended an engagement process on behalf of the SLRD with all of our amazing general managers regarding the Pemberton Valley evacuation route planning. And they will be, they actually have a survey open. I'll circulate the survey link to everyone. But it is, so the survey is open for, I think, a decent period of time.
Yeah, I think maybe to the end of the month. And we
Oh.
are near the end of the month.
We are very close to the end of the month. I'll circulate that survey if you haven't already received it. It's just for interest's sake and I think important to this valley, because the one thing that we were identifying with the consultant is that it truly is a one road in, one road out community with some really challenging topography, and every possible emergency lives in this valley. So making sure that we can move people in the event of a landslide, volcano, hurricane, earthquake, and
We've been through that.
Locusts.
yeah, and locusts, yeah. So that's my chair's report. Could I ask that someone please move receipt? Thank you, Director Rasmussen, seconded by Director Morden. All in favor, any opposed, motion carries. 9.2, are we tracking along here? Yeah. We have a director's report from Director Demare regarding the Hurley Forest. Oh, sorry, Director Demare, I'm gonna give you a moment. I think I said I'd give you 3 minutes in the roundtable. I'm gonna turn it over to Director Demare because he has something he wants to share with us about tree planting at the Downton Lake wildfire site. Over to you.
Yes, Caribou Carbon planted 37,000 trees on private property. And I want to thank all the volunteers that helped identify the properties that wanted their trees planted. So this is all on private property. They planted fir, pine, yellow pine, and deciduous trees depending on the appropriate location for each species. The Ministry of Forests planted 500,000 trees on old burnt cut blocks and in burnt forest areas. Prior to planting the burnt forest areas, a hazard tree assessor went in and identified the hazard trees so the tree planters knew to stay away from them. Interwest Timber also planted trees in salvage log cut blocks. And a little tale of what happened there. A male grizzly stalked one of the tree planters up the Sling Creek Road, and finally at the end, the tree planter used bear spray to get away. Importance of carrying bear spray. We currently have a female bear with two-year-old cubs hanging around Gun Lake again this year, and they did all last year. and a couple of male bears, so it is interesting time in the valley. I know that the spruce budworm has affected a lot of trees in the Sea to Sky corridor, so this is important. As expected, the fir beetle has taken its toll, as seen by the new fungus balls that are on the many dead fir trees this year. If you haven't been up in the last while, a lot of the trees on the perimeter of the fire have been affected by the fir beetle now, and the Ministry of Forests talked about that. Once the beetle bores into stressed trees, it gives out a fungus to help stop the fluid in the tree so they can lay their eggs. And they lay their, the female goes straight up, and then it goes the larvae go horizontal. So wherever they bored in, that fungus ball shows up. And if you were to drive down West Gun Lake Road right now, you would see all these trees with the white fungus balls plastered. It's unbelievable. And the fungus comes out 1 or 2 years after the beetle had entered the trees. So, and I look across the lake, and I've got pictures of before the fire, shortly after the fire, a year after the fire, 2 years after the fire, and I look across now, and there's so many more dead trees, and that's the fir beetle. The fir beetle, the female is attracted to stressed trees. The stressed trees, such as your the spruce budworm attack trees, it gives off a pheromone that attracts the female, and off we go. And we got millions of fir beetle, especially on the west side. I look out my window right now, and I've got a tree that has the fungus balls on my property, and it's dead. And a lot of the tops on our trees, because we've had the spruce budworm now, this is the 4th year of the infection, and a lot of our tops on our trees on my property are affected with very little needles left on them, and they're ready to go. The new shoots have just come out, so the fir beetle would be going after them again. So just a little update on what happens after a fire with all the very insects that come in and play and continue killing the trees. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Demare. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. The Hurley Forest Service Road Maintenance Funding Request, Director Demare, do you want to speak to it?
Yes, I think the report I made is very detailed, and it goes through a whole bunch of things. One of the keys for sure is economic development, and also all the non-resident property owners that use that road. And what everybody wants is just a consistent maintenance on it. Last year, once it opened up, it got graded fairly early, and then it didn't get graded until into September, October. And the reason why it didn't get graded was that the grader operator doesn't want to grade it when it's dry because it causes sparks, and didn't want to start a forest fire. And that's the reason why the water truck is required. Not only does it make it easier to grade, but it suppresses those sparks when he's grading in the fire season. So the purpose of this is so that, number one, for economic development, that the road gets opened up May long weekend to get people into the valley to support the businesses. As you can see in Braylorn, we really got no businesses left other than the mine. That's all that's left. And we want to maintain what we have left and hopefully get some of those businesses back. And the Hurley is one of the main routes into the valley in the summertime when the tourist season is on. And also to use that money so that we can grade in the middle of summer to, you know, what's left of that $72,000, that's all that's there. And that hasn't been increased for a long, long time. And how would you like it if the budget of the SLRD just kept what it was back in the early 90s? You wouldn't be able to, we wouldn't be able to do anything. So anyway, I would like to make the motion that the SLRD fund Cascades Ford District for the total cost of opening the Hurley Forest Service Road for the May 26th long weekend from Area A PILT funds. This would preserve the maintenance funding for grading the Hurley and if needed to use the water truck to keep the roadbed in a safe and consistent condition for the travelers.
Before we consider your motion, thank you for reading it to us. I'm gonna go to staff to ask for some insight.
Omar Butt, General Manager of Infrastructure and Environmental Services. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, I met with Director Demare and the Ministry of Forest staff, and I questioned them on their budget process and how it works. And for this piece, actually, the funding for Hurley comes from the Ministry of Transportation. Ministry of Forest gets that money. It's $72,400 that's set aside. And there's an agreement that was made in the late 80s. And it's the same number from the late 80s that they're working with. Which is, and there's $15,000 for opening, and then the rest is for grading. And I brought up all the same concerns that I brought up at that meeting, which we're seeing a lot of areas where the province is trying to download costs. Rec trails and sites in BC, they're thinking of putting a gate at the end of Paradise Valley Road, and they're asking us if we have funding. Down Creek FSR, Ministry of Forest is asking if we have funding to support keeping provincial rec sites open. Even with Cataline Creek with the bridge replacement, I had to argue with the ministry on covering some of those costs. Ministry of Transportation and Transit, ditch and culvert maintenance, when we asked them to do better, they said you have more money. And then even with EOC, SRD is managing risks on provincial land, public land. And we do get funding for repairs and stuff, but still a significant amount of staff time. So we're seeing a lot of downloading of costs and work. And then the other piece is that with the PILT and amenity funds, that's one of the ones that SRD can use for operations. And if you look at our budget process, and there's a bunch of budgets that require amenity or PILT funds to support it and to keep that cost center going. Goldbridge Water is one that has $25,000 in Area A PILT. Goldbridge Transfer Station, I think there's about $35,000. So there's like, those are really important pieces to keep our services running. And so that's my spiel, but I don't know if Colin has anything to.
Yeah, I think that was a great explanation of where we are, but I guess I'll just clarify that staff don't recommend using Area A PILT for something that is essentially provincial downloading. You know, roads aren't the SLRD responsibility, and I think there's concerns of what our requests will be in years future for this same cost, and having an ongoing cost to maintain a road out of Area A PILT is not recommended by staff.
We'll note too that we did send a letter to them, I think it was last year, or and their response was we would be pleased to arrange a meeting to review the agreement and discuss potential adjustment such as spring opening dates or the number of gradings. Changes related to funding levels or requests outside the current policy are not being considered. So that policy from 1980, whatever, is the $72,000 funding.
Has there been a traffic study as to the increase? Is there more traffic headed up there? Has the population increased? I know that the popularity seems to have increased, but.
I did ask that question when the last time a traffic count was done, and I think it was a couple of years ago. They are looking at, and I think Sal can speak to this a bit more, but part of that funding that was allocated in the 80s was based on traffic use and amount of population. So obviously that has changed significantly.
Up or down?
I would say up.
Okay.
As an example, at this Semaphore Lakes, when the Joffrey Lakes Park is closed, everybody goes to Semaphore Lakes. There, the contractor that does the grading on the Hurley has seen 240 vehicles there. So if that's 2 people per vehicle, you're almost at 500, which is the limit that can go into Joffrey Lakes Park by the permit process. And they're all using SUVs, some rentals, and they go up that hill and chew it all up and then go back down.
Go ahead.
There is significant pressure on that area and our whole like area A and B with recreation and the amount of people that are pushing out from the coast. This relates to emergency services. This relates to all the things. So the Hurley is just one piece of, well, it's a significant piece of the puzzle. But it does also relate even to like ways out and like emergency egress. So I think that, yeah, it is a download. I agree with staff. So it's really frustrating, but I also agree with Sal. It's like he has looking for solutions, and this is a one way to solve that issue of being able to support the economic development of his area. So I feel really stuck in the middle for this one, but defer to Sal on it for sure. But it's not going to get smaller, this issue. It's just going to continue to rise based on our, like the pushing out of the sea to sky. I remember just as we were coming out of COVID, there were there was a tracking study on the Highway 40 and the Hurley to like track who's coming and going and where they came from. And there's lots of data out there to show the increases and who's coming from where. So, yeah.
We're not getting the support from the province.
No.
No, and that's a sad thing because, I totally agree with what Omar's saying. These guys, the province, they're pushing their responsibility onto somebody else. They have no money. We can't get our roads fixed. I mean, their idea of fixing roads now is spraying tar all over everywhere and then spraying gravel all over top of that. They're doing it from Mount Currie on. It's embarrassing. And they should be totally embarrassed with what they're doing, the ministry and the government in general. It's ridiculous. But to start using the limited funds that we have as area directors for this, I mean, with Area C, by the time we do, the Divine Water System, the Darcy Water System, the transfer station, on and on and on, and we're taking money out of amenity funds, which should be going to amenities, right? And we're actually using it for day-to-day operations. There's no money. Colin can attest to that. We went into that yesterday. And now these guys, they've got a budget set from 1988 and $17,800. What's that in today's dollars? $200,000? I mean, it's just, like I say, to me, it's just totally embarrassing. I mean, I know when I was working and I was the head of, whatever department I was the head of, I would be totally embarrassed to say, oh, my guys just went and fixed the road, right? Oh, shit, they did. They made a mess of it, excuse me, but they made a mess of it. And here we are. Now they're coming to us wanting more money. And we don't have the money.
I hear you and I hear the concerns, and the province has a $13 billion deficit. They don't have new money.
They have no money.
And the costs of everything has increased. It's interesting that their budget hasn't changed. So maybe this is a communication exercise of saying, don't use that road. You know, like it's a Forest Service road. It's an unmaintained Forest Service road. There are big signs right at the entrance down the valley that say, you know, unmaintained or.
But then by the same token, they're promoting the use of Semaphore Lake and all the backcountry
Yeah.
for camping, hiking, on and on. And so they're getting people to come into the area to spend money.
But there's nowhere to spend money if all the businesses are closed up in
Well,
area.
exactly. But even, you know, for gas, whatever, yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever.
Heather, get us back on track. What can we do?
I think this was mentioned in the UBCM report committee of the whole as some advocacy. I think that regardless of their deficit, no change since 1980, this is a great place for us to go up 40,000 feet and start advocating for a meeting and that they change that budget. So
We've gone that route. Can I speak, please?
Yes, Director Demare.
Yeah, the next agenda item talks to hopefully a way to while the project is going, the LaJoy Dam project, where BC Hydro can chip in because they will be using that road. So will their contractors. And I know how much money we've got in our PILT fund, and we've got lots of money left in our PILT fund. And if you want, Colin could bring it up right now. There's over $200,000 in it that is unspent. And if we need to, I can change it to a one-time only. And because I don't foresee this going on year after year after year. We've already gone through the process with the ministry. Omar, myself, and Russell will be meeting with hopefully fairly soon with the minister or the staff, whoever we're going to be talking to. And that's one thing I was going to bring up was that the funding was coming from MODI, from MOT, and we need to work through that. And that's the time to do it. We don't have to have a minister meeting. We already got the meeting that we need to talk to this about with the ministry. So I'll change that motion where it's a one-time only to fund that opening up of the Hurley, because it's open. It was opened. And we need to fund it, and we need to make sure that that road is usable for the people that come up into the valley. Thank you.
Okay, Sal, do you have a proposed budget for doing the grading? And have you used the water truck?
If this gets funded by PILT funds, then the 72,400 is left for the grading.
Okay. So you're saying that this becomes a partnered expense? We're paying for part of it, they're paying their part of it.
Yep.
This is a one-time motion.
Yep.
I see Director Herford has had his hand up.
Thank you. In the report, it says things like this amount would be considerably more than the traditional 15K, despite costs exceeding the usual 15K. But the motion doesn't speak to a dollar amount. Do we, just to the, I guess to the mayor, or do we have an understanding of what the dollar amount?
Yes, it's just over $25,000.
Okay. And then I'm just curious from a process perspective, this is something that's already happened. So is this, I don't know if there's an answer to that, just that this has already happened. The road's open. Framing this as paying for the opening of the road is different than framing it as like topping up the grading budget ongoing. Just how did we arrive at this ask in this way? It just seems out of order, at least, or out of timeline order.
Okay, I think what you're asking is the road is already open. The money that Director Demare is trying to contribute from PILT funds is to do the maintenance required to keep the road passable through this summer on a one-time basis. Am I articulating what you're saying, Director Demare?
To keep the road in a consistent, safe, drivable manner.
But we're giving the money to the province for their contractors to do this work.
Yes.
Okay. One time.
One
Just for
time.
this year. And then we figure out a different path through advocacy.
Yes.
That is what you're saying.
Yes.
Are there any questions?
So many.
So many questions. Tony, go ahead.
I'm not quite clear where BC Hydro fits into this. Are we wanting to pay this money now, but then go to Hydro and ask for that they contribute? Or?
Yeah, it's a bit, it would have been helpful if they were if both of 9.2 and 9.3 were considered together. I don't think we can do it.
I thought that's what we were doing.
Two separate things, yeah, but they're not separate things. They're both ending at the same outcome. Does anybody want to help us here?
Well, I would support Sal's recommendation right now, and subsequent to that, I would support the idea of us approaching BC Hydro to provide some funding for the length of time that their project is operating and their people are using that road.
So that's the next report and possibly a separate discussion.
Okay.
So the motion, if everyone is clear, Angela, can you cobble that together?
Yeah, but the SLRD board fund Cascades Forest Service District for the total cost for $25,000 as a one-time payment to support the opening, like through Area A PILT funds to preserve maintenance funding for grading the Hurley. And if needed, the use of a water truck to keep the road bed in a safe and consistent condition for travelers.
Director Demare, does that reflect what you wanted to hear?
Yes, that'll work.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Oh, I have questions.
Question, go
So
ahead.
it's one time and it's at any time during the summer that this would get done? Or is there time?
Well,
When they like
the funds have to go to, if this gets approved, the funds will go to Cascades Forest District and to do that maintenance.
Right. And then what is
right.
the cost for the water truck? Are we paying for the water truck?
The Cascades Forest District will be doing that.
Okay, we're in a fire ban right now, so I would want that resolution to say.
and water truck.
They
but it's
need
an
to
if
do the water
needed.
truck.
We don't need to get into the gravel about how we do it.
But are we on the hook for that with our resolution that we're supporting grading but not the water truck? I just don't wanna.
I would just say Hurley maintenance. I don't think we need to get specific on what.
Can we just get
Say
out
Hurley
like
maintenance.
up here, you guys?
That just sketchy.
I hear you, but I beg you.
Yeah, no,
Everybody.
to say Hurley maintenance is.
There we go.
Makes me feel more comfortable.
Well,
If I may, through the chair, would it maybe make sense to have a contribution agreement in this case, and we can kind of define some of those at an operational level, and also have maybe some clause that if there's negotiations and additional funding is received, that we aren't still on the hook for that 25,000.
Can we add that?
We can amend the resolution to include subject to entering a contribution agreement.
Yeah, financial contribution agreement.
Okay, do I have a seconder for or do I have someone to move the amendment?
I'll move the amendment.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
No.
Okay, Tony, speaking to the amendment, go ahead.
I will not be supporting the main motion, even if this amendment goes through, but I think this amendment is a key component if the board is willing to entertain the main motion. So it makes it a little bit more supportable, but I will speak to the main motion, that this amendment is critical if we're gonna go in this direction.
Okay, any other comments? Voting on the amendment, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now on the amended motion. Chris?
Yeah, I can't support this. I would support some strong advocacy on this. We've talked about Jack Webster Bridge. And there's been other recreational bridges and so on. I think if we're gonna step into provincial downloading, healthcare and some of those things are hard. I don't think we can take on roads. Even if it's a one-time thing, it sets expectations and I'm just not comfortable going down this path again. Strong advocacy, sure, but and we've heard from staff too, there are capital needs and so on in area A, and I just don't think this is where our money should be going.
Thank you. Anyone of the,
Yeah, I also will be supporting motion for a lot of the same reasons. I think I appreciate the amendment made it better. The language around a one time, this don't guarantee it's a one time, it's a one time until you own it. And I think this is not a direction I'm interested in us pursuing. And if we have $25,000, we're happy to spend. And I think about all the services we provide and the challenges inside each of those cost centers. This just isn't one for me, so I'll be supporting.
Can I just say that with limited access going in and out of these communities, I think that this road is an important road. And I think we have to remember too that hydro is gonna it's gonna be a big player in the next 10 years. And I think that hydro will, and I'm not saying they will for sure, but I believe that hydro will take over maintenance of this road in the coming years. So I will be supporting this for area A, because I think it's just a gateway to get to another step. Thank you.
I agree with Lori, and just another key piece is that on the Hurley, they've chosen the camp for the Lillooet upgrades to be on the Hurley. And so there is a portion of the Hurley right now that they're assessing and doing the key pieces for upgrades. So they're already doing part of it. Yep.
Okay, Jenna?
Here, I appreciate the next item is a separate item, but I would urge my director's colleagues to consider doing advocacy to BC Hydro before we put our own money on the table to grab on something that is clearly provincial jurisdiction and has a major industrial player that is using this road. I hear loud and clear the importance of this road from an emergency access perspective. There are more tourists out there than ever. It's critical for economic development. All those things are true for the Hurley and for many other roads within the regional district. And I do not want to start putting any of our operating dollars, which we continuously advocate to the province about how we do not have enough money to fund water systems, fire trucks, all the things that are core to what local governments do. We ask for more money all the time. And now we're about to go and spend the limited money that we have on something that is clearly within their jurisdiction. I just think it is a terrible precedent.
Okay. I'm gonna call a question on the motion as was amended. All in favor? Okay.
This is really,
It's tough.
it is.
Anyone opposed?
Your hands up, it would be appreciated.
Motion fails. Okay, we are gonna take a break to get our lunches, bring it back. We'll do a working lunch. But to those online, please come back in 10 minutes. So come back right at 1 and we will carry on through the agenda at that time. Thank you. We're calling this meeting back to order. We're moving on to 9.3. And this is that the SLRD requests that BC Hydro contribute to the maintenance of the Hurley Forest Service Road to help provide a consistent and safe level of service. Let's not go back into all the arguments that have already been made, but Director Demare, do you want to speak to your director's report?
No, it's pretty self-explanatory. I'll just move the motion
Okay.
as presented.
Seconded by Director Herford. Sorry.
I think never mind. Yeah.
Okay. Any comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. 10.1, a request for funding from the Lillooet Agricultural and Food Society fiscal year 26-27 for $40,000 or $40,100 from the BC Hydro Hilt Reserve. As laid out in our package. Who would like to move that? I would. Director Rasmussen moves it, seconded by Director Stoner. Comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. There's a request for funding from the Lillooet Camel's Foot TV and Radio Association for community radio service sustainability. This is in the amount of $16,461.06. Which is great because that tells us that the budget is very accurate. Moved by Director Rasmussen, seconded by Director Hopful. Comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. 10.3, a request for funding from British Columbia Mountain Foundation for Mountain Lake Helipad. Tony is not here. But this is a letter in support, I believe, from Director Rainbow. Oh, there he is. Do you want to speak to it? You're on mute. Sorry, Tony, we can't hear you.
There we go. Yeah, I've somehow lost my way on in my agenda. Where's it gone? What do I need to say? This association's been in place for years. They maintain other mountain huts. This particular one is at the headwaters of Britannia Creek, which I've actually visited. And what they're asking for, I think, makes absolute sense. So, and I'm prepared to fund it.
The whole amount?
20 grand, I think. I'm not quite clear if that's the whole amount, but that's what they asked for.
Okay.
We have funded this group in the past for similar projects, and we just requested that receipts be submitted and reimbursed, and we just had that up to 20,000.
Okay.
And I think that would be this project, and they can just submit receipts to finance, and we'll just reimburse them once we get them.
Great. Question, Jenna?
And sorry, just to clarify what funding source this is coming from. Thanks.
So, what month is EAD?
Which pot is it coming from?
Director Rainbow, what
Yes.
pot of money would you like this to come from?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking Colin. It's coming from Area D amenities.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
What, like they asked for, is this so they can do trail maintenance and this is an occasional helicopter use, or this is like facilitating eventually?
Rescue?
Search and rescue, okay. That's.
No, it's to do with maintenance.
Oh, it's for maintenance.
They have a yeah.
Yeah, like anyone can use it. But
It's for construction of a helipad, is what it says.
so one doesn't currently exist.
Blackness Health asked for a landing pad to be built.
Okay.
We don't know what it's for.
Right, and that's what I thought. Is this for sort of frequent commercial recreational use, or is this for future maintenance
No.
work the mountain top needs to do, or like why do they need a helipad?
I would say multi-use.
There's all kinds
Yes,
of.
can I answer that?
Yes, please, Tony.
The thing that prompted the request in the first place is that they have a propane tank attached to that cabin, so that it's can be used all year round. At the moment, when they want to bring in a new or replace the tank, because they can't refill it, so they replace it. They're having to do it and sort of suspend the helicopter is hovering, and they're sort of lowering this tank down, and it's somewhat dangerous and it's difficult. So what they want is to be able to land the helicopter and switch over the tanks, and then it can take off again. That was the thing that prompted the request. Would it be used for other things? Well, of course. I mean, if there's any kind of a search and rescue operation in that area, they need to get people up there quickly, and helicopter was brought in, then there's a safe place for it to land. Is it used for commercial things? No, it's not ferrying groups of people up there. That's not the intent at all.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion. I don't feel like we've moved it, have we? Okay, Tony, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll move that we approve up to, and I agree with the wording, up to 20,000 for the purposes of constructing the helipad.
Okay. And seconded by Director Hopful. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, 10.4, we have been invited to participate in the Recreation Service Advisory Committee with the Village of Pemberton. Director Mack is being requested as the member. You accept the invitation?
Yes.
Fantastic. Do we have a motion to support appointing Director Mack? Moved by Director Stoner, seconded by Director Pettengill. Comments?
Can I make a comment?
Of course.
Why would the regional district member who have to do this and not be a voting member? Can you explain that?
That's a good question.
So, based on the terms of reference, there are a number of non-voting members and participants, as outlined, including the Village of Pemberton council members are not voting members either. There's a Lillooet council member also sitting on that committee, which is a non-voting member. Sea to Sky, School District 48, as well as the Council Scolaire Francophone, and none of those are voting members, but they are there to help support and maybe a liaison to some of the decisions and inform that the voting members that are on.
Because we are definitely money supporting them.
Your vote comes later when it goes
Yeah,
to
yeah,
the
yeah.
budget announcement.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. I have met with the chair of the Sea to Sky School District, number 48. I'm also on the DPAC, so I do have regular contact with, not as an appointed member from this board, but as a community member. We have often said that it would be great to have a meeting with them, like a formal meeting. So I think I would just ask that we have staff set that up, either as a delegation to the board or as a off the board agenda, but a meeting with the chair and vice chair. So can we set that up without, do you want a resolution to set that up? Yeah, okay, moved by,
Sorry, just a quick.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, the proposal is to have just the chair, vice chair meet with the board representatives, not.
No.
Just curious about what topics and how we develop an agenda.
Well, I guess they're asking for a meeting with the whole board. They never do those things in public. I don't see any grounds that we can bring them in a closed session. So I think the first step is for me to meet with them to figure out what they want to talk about. I know it's regional transit. I know it's building in areas of concern. I'm sure there are other topics, but I don't have anything to that right now. Go ahead.
I can speak to that. We did reach out to school district to get a better understanding of some of the topics that they were wanting to meet with senior staff and a couple of members of the board. And they included topics such as regional transportation, collaboration opportunities, challenges impacting the school district, and items of shared interest with the SLRD.
You must meet with them.
Well, I think this is the thing, is that understanding when it's boards meet together versus staff working on things that need decisions of boards, or a subset of the group meeting, like all those things are different. So I just want to make sure I know where we're going.
I mean, Tony, go ahead.
We had a meeting set up with our whole board, with the school district board, and we were all set to go on that. And then COVID came and we had to cancel it. And we've never pursued it since then. But I think there's a real value for our whole board to meet with their board and discuss the kinds of topics that they raised. I don't think it needs, I wouldn't like to see it as their board coming to one of our meetings or us going to one of their, not something like that, but just a separate meeting. I'm not sure that staff need to be involved at that point.
I don't see how we can coordinate the schedules of 11 members of our board and I don't know how many members on their board. And there would be legislative restraints to having a quorum of our board and a quorum of their board. So I think I need staff to go away and figure this out and come back with a recommendation.
I think the other pressing piece is that they are hoping to meet prior to summer, which does not leave a lot of time. So
I would almost say leave this for post-election. Because a new board should meet with a new board. Go ahead, Jenna.
Yeah, I'm happy to leave like the board to board meeting for a later date, but I would still encourage the chair and vice chair perhaps to meet with their chair and vice chair and some senior staff and just pencil that out.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. We'll leave it at that. Great. Thank you. Correspondence for information. This is just a motion
was that a motion for staff to schedule a meeting with the chair and vice chair and senior staff?
Yeah, Jenna moved it, Armin seconded it, and all in favor? Is anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
And just to be clear on that, I think it was clear, this isn't the chair and the vice chair going to a full meeting of their board. That would be that's a different beast than what we're talking about now. Thank you.
The BC Municipal Climate Leadership Council has sent us correspondence for information. It's there in your package. Is anybody interested in discussing it? Or we can receive for information? Encourage anyone to be a part of that council if they are interested. There's some really interesting thought leadership at that group. I haven't had time for the last couple of years to participate, but. Motion to receive. Moved by Jenna, second by Lori, all in favor, any opposed, motion carries. Late business. You can just go straight into 13.1. Sorry, I've been real tardy in getting to these. Report back on the amendment options and consultation results in response to 3 south of the Fraser mayor's request. Want to receive? Oh, hi.
Hi, thank you. February General Manager, Planning and Development Services. I can provide just a really high level update on the referral, the report back on a referral that the SLRD sent. Basically, the Metro is communicating back to the SLRD. The SLRD received early referral in this process. It was at a consultation stage. And the SRD did provide a fulsome response during that consultation period. They have now initiated the amendment bylaws. And in this package, they acknowledge that the input that was provided by the SRD as well as some other affected local governments. Staff at this time don't feel that further comments are required, but we'll defer to the board if additional information or comments are warranted.
I'm gonna proceed. Thank you. Second. All right. Comments?
Thank you for the work on the initial feedback. They'll do with it what they will. I agree that it's not worth additional time.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right. 13.2. District of Lillooet. Letter to the Ministry of Energy and Climate Solutions, support for continued LGCAP funding for BC local governments and modern treaty nations. Will we receive, or do you want to speak to it?
Nope, just move to receive.
Seconded by Director Stoner. Comments? Go ahead.
Just thanks again for everyone taking action on this, and it's not just in this, but especially in this. The government seems to be moving so forward and investing in so many things that are creating a lot of the problems that we're trying to solve with LGCAP funding and so on. So if they're gonna keep building up fossil fuels and all these sorts of things, they've got to give us a lot more money to deal with all the consequences of it. And it's frustrating that they're taking away the tools we need to respond to the very things they're doing.
All in favor? Oh, go ahead.
There's motion on the first side.
Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries. Go ahead.
I am curious if we should pile on to the letters and write one from the SLRD.
You do.
We did.
Sorry, I
Okay.
missed that. Thank you for your work in advance.
Intuitive.
Well done. Accolades around the table for everyone who had that foresight. Really missed that one, sorry.
That's okay. Okay, any notice of motion? No. Okay. Now, we are going to close.
We're gonna go into recommendations from the committee of the whole.
Okay, oh yes, and there are many.
We do have a lengthy list. Please bear with me. Starting with a motion regarding the funding model options for the electoral area directors, staff support, that staff proceed with option 4 as identified in the staff report to inform the 2027 budget process.
What do we
Do you want me to read?
Can we do them all at once?
Can we do them all together?
You can.
Oh, let's
do
do
that.
the whole list in one motion.
Okay, that staff, and then in regards to UBCM meetings, that staff submit a request for a meeting to be held during the 2026 UBCM convention with the Minister of Environment and Parks to discuss the following topics: enhanced provincial oversight and enforcement of the maximum 14 consecutive day-night overnight camping provision on public land, reinstatement of mattresses and foundation in the extended producer responsibility 5-year action plan, and preserving continued recreational access to the downtown Great Forest Service Road in alignment with the priority of deliver experiences in BC's outdoor recreation strategy, which is specifically Target 8. That staff submit a request for a meeting to be held during the 2026 UBCM convention with the Minister of Forests to discuss the following topics: responsibility for Jack Webster Replacement Bridge, continuation and expansion of Fire Smart community funding and supports in recognition of the program's vital role in supporting communities, and request for a provincially established standard for land fire operations that local governments may consider adopting. That on behalf of Sea to Sky Regional Hospital District, staff submit a request for a meeting during UBCM with the Minister of Health to discuss the following topics of capital planning, master planning, and long-term funding. That staff submit a request for a meeting to be held during UBCM to the Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation to discuss First Nations engagement with the implementation and that subject, or that staff submit a request for a meeting during UBCM with the appropriate minister to discuss the following topic of establishing a sustainable provincial funding model for search and rescue organizations. That staff submit a request for a meeting to be held during UBCM with Premier David Eby and the Minister of Transportation and Transit to discuss the various requests that the SLRD has already made to the province for a regional transit system. That the board send a letter to the Minister of Agriculture and Foods on the topic of improvements to Canada GAP certification program to remove local producer challenges to sell locally and the financial burden of GAP certification program. That if any minister's meeting requests are declined and if associated deadlines allow, staff submit a request for meetings to be held during the week of September 8th to the 11th, 2026 with staff from the associated ministry. In regards to directors' remuneration, that staff update the director's remuneration bylaw to include that all directors are eligible for mileage reimbursement for round trips exceeding 60 kilometers undertaken in the course of regional district business. That staff update the director's remuneration bylaw to include the average stipend for directors, which includes electoral area directors, municipal directors, board chair and board vice chair as outlined in the table in the staff report. That staff update the director's remuneration bylaw to include dependent care as outlined in option 1 in the staff report. And that staff update the director's remuneration bylaw to include long distance telephone, fax, internet and cell phone expenses as a $1,500 annual taxable allowance for electoral area directors.
Oh, good job. Awesome. Okay, all in favor? Yes. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Debbie. Sorry. You should bark from my to kick you under the table. Okay. Thank you. Motion to close. Under section 91C. Moved by Jenna, seconded by Jesse, all in favor. Any opposed? Motion carries.